We'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. It's great to have a full house. We've got a full agenda, so we'll get started right away. I'm going to ask for the adoption of the minutes from September the 8th. Can we do the 15th at the same time to the corporate officer?
Yes, Your Worship.
So for both meetings, moved, seconded, thank you. Any errors or omissions? Okay, seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? No one's opposed? Motion's carried, thank you. Is there any resolutions to amend the agenda?
Not tonight, Your Worship.
Thank you. Then we'll move right into the public hearing, and this is regarding bylaw 2014-021. This is the OCP Amendment Bylaw 2000-310 to add the Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan as a secondary document and designate the subject lands as rural residential, and bylaw 2014-022 to amend OCP bylaw 2014-002, currently with the ALC, to designate the subject lands as rural residential. And just before we get started and get some background information, there's a statement that I am required to read. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act. The purpose of this hearing is to consider certain bylaws which, if adopted, will amend the Summerland Official Community Plan Bylaw 2000-310 and/or the Summerland Zoning Bylaw 2000-450. During this public hearing, anyone who believes that his or her interest is affected by the proposed development will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that are subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the subject bylaw have been made available to the public. Now, I would like to invite the public to come forward and present their comments. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record. Speakers are encouraged to limit their remarks to 5 minutes and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded for all persons to speak a second or a third time once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. During the public hearing, council may ask questions of staff and public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place when the bylaw is considered after the conclusion of the hearing, and at that time, any questions of staff should be for clarification purposes only. I'm going to ask our corporate officer, we did receive some emails, mail, etc. Could you give us some background?
Yes, we did, Your Worship. I will just briefly make a comment on each piece of correspondence that we received from 8 property owners. Wes and Serena Burdick on Simpson Road wholeheartedly support the Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan, believe that it will create housing options that will be an attractive choice for young families. Brian and Doreen Goltz of Camry Home Builders from Edmonton, Alberta. Property is truly spectacular Okanagan development property. We can't wait to see the finished product. Wilf and Jennifer N. Summerland support the Hunters Hill project and believe the neighborhood plan will be a real benefit to Summerland. Lori Rockwell of Summerland, not in favor of the development. She is concerned with urban sprawl, future water supply, economy, ecosystem, water, and wildlife. Dick Grosh, Garnet Valley Road, supports a neighborhood plan as proposed, positive housing initiative for Summerland. Don Bryce of Summerland supports a neighborhood plan as proposed. A positive economic spin-off will be beneficial to Summerland. The Summerland Environmental Science Group, Doug Wall, provided some comments on the neighborhood plan. Overall, they believe the Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan includes some progressive efforts to identify and mitigate environmental values. They believe that additional environmental assessment is required before decisions are made about the appropriate number of lots, lot sizes, configuration, and road access. The language in the neighborhood plan should be strengthened to provide clarity and certainty so that biodiversity values within the neighborhood plan are identified and management appropriately. And R.W. Townsend, he's a retired employee of the BC Ministry of Environment, and he's from Summerland, finds the Hunters Hill neighborhood plan to be extremely weak in the area of sewage disposal, concern with poor soil depth for sewage disposal, and a more important factor is finding a pathway for the combined flow of the entire development. And lastly, Luke Reimer of Summerland supports the Hunters Hill neighborhood plan because of the obvious spin-offs and job opportunities it will create over time.
And I think you said Ms. Lori Brock? It's
Lori Rockwell. Yes.
It's Mr. It's Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
I did
Okay.
the same thing, so
Okay.
I'm familiar. Okay,
Okay,
good,
we had
thank you
trouble
so
with that
much.
one.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm going to ask now Ian McIntosh, our Director of Development Services, to give us some background information. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very brief, as I know the developer is in the gallery and has a brief presentation as well. As you mentioned, the application is to add Hunters Hill Neighborhood Plan to our official community plan and redesignate the lands from open land to rural residential. The neighborhood plan area is shown on the screen. It is currently designated as open land on our official community plan. It is designated as country residential in zoning, which allows for 1 hectare development. And the very basic development plan is shown on the screen there with a couple of conservation areas, a basic road network. And now there are a couple of issues that are of significance since the bylaw was read a first time. And the plan was presented to council September the 8th, and there were a number of concerns that council had with respect to the amount of engineering study that has been undertaken to date. So staff suggested to council that a section 11.1, which is an addendum to the, or an addition to the neighborhood plan, be included that spoke a little bit about further engineering study that would have to be done at the time of subdivision at the expense of the developer with respect to the Sanborn road access, additional water modeling, and additional geotechnical and drainage study. So that section has been added to the plan, so it's slightly different than it was at first reading. And another significant item is that the developer has drafted a no separate sale covenant, which means that this northerly parcel here on the Garnet Valley side and the large parcel cannot be sold separately unless the area shown as green on this parcel is dedicated as park. So there is certainty that the areas shown as green will be dedicated as municipal park, and that covenant is executed and held in trust with our lawyer, and if the neighborhood plan is adopted, that covenant will immediately be registered.
Any more information?
That's it for the moment.
Okay, you said they were 1 hectare lots. How
That's-
many at full build-out
Uh,
could be built?
That information, somewhere between 30 and 50. We haven't seen an actual development plan, and it will depend on further study when we get to the subdivision
And that's the
stage.
total build-out, and everyone has to have at least 1 hectare of land.
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions before we go on? Okay, if it's just a straight question, and then we'll go to the public, please. Okay? Okay, we'll start the public hearing. If there's anyone who wishes to speak to this issue, please feel free to come to the lectern and give us your name and your address for the record, and we'd appreciate hearing from you. Hi.
Hi, my name's Thor Clausen. I live at 18420 Garnet Valley Road, which is on the Garnet Valley side that directly is affected by the Hunters Hills development. I did have some concerns when Patrick first started the development proposals. I've watched the process and followed it very closely. He's addressed all of the concerns I had with development and with parkland next to my place, access to the property and everything else. I think it'll be a really good development for the property. I know the property well, and I think the access and everything else that he's designed into it will be quite appropriate and good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Thank you. I'm Patrick Murphy.
And your address, please, just for the record.
Actually, I just moved. I had to remind myself.
You have to look at it
Yeah,
still, that's
it's
okay.
10818 Harris Road now. I grew up in Summerland. My wife and I live in Summerland, and we've raised our family in Summerland. We've owned and operated a downtown business for many years in Summerland. My brother and I are the developers of this property. 12 years ago, we developed Jewel Place. We built 2 show homes, and all of the 22 lots were purchased by people who live or own there now. It's currently home to retirees, business owners, and families in Summerland. After that, we purchased Summerland Lodge, which had unfortunately been closed, and it was sitting empty. After we did a massive update to the property, it was purchased by Angus Place Housing Society. And today it operates as Angus Manor, providing living for seniors, good jobs, and steady employment for the economy in Summerland. After that project, my brother and I went to work on a 160-acre development parcel here in Summerland. And tonight, we're pleased to outline a significant step for that area and what we believe is a really amazing opportunity for Summerland. So a couple of highlights I would ask if I can just touch on briefly here.
Please do.
One is, if you could bring up the lot size infographic, please.
Oh, you mean one that Ed has?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to address the density concern. I think it's the next one. Keep her going. Oh, sorry, it's okay. That's what Ed's going to talk about. My apologies. I mainly wanted to just point out a couple of things about the lot sizes and the density of this development. These lots that are currently zoned for, they are at least 7 times larger than the old style 1/3 acre country residential lots that were being approved for septic 20 and 30 years ago. So obviously the small number of lots will create a very low density natural footprint that's going to significantly ease septic and drainage concerns for the overall property. Our professional planners have set aside 4 distinct conservation areas to achieve a very high level of environmental protection on this property. Not to give Ian a shot, he mentioned a couple conservation areas there. That is over 15% of our land that will be transferred to the District of Summerland, beginning literally the day after this plan is adopted by Council. I think that's a fantastic step for the town of Summerland. Our lawyers have taken specific, legally binding protections and put them in place over the land that can begin immediately after this, if this is approved. That's an accomplishment that I would say to Council, I've never heard of such an accomplishment in the Okanagan Valley in terms of environmental protections. And that property that is being protected is fantastic. It consists of a bluff, which is a distinct ecosystem. It consists of a wetland, which is a distinct ecosystem, and it consists of a grassland, which is a distinct ecosystem. Each one by itself is very impressive, but they're all together. Our qualified environmental professional planner was thrilled with this as a mitigation strategy. In addition to that, the 4th ecosystem is over to the right, and there's 2 ephemeral wetlands there. And early in the process, I remember thinking, boy, those ephemeral wetlands, that sounds pretty impressive. What it really means is there's hardly ever any water there. That's what the word ephemeral means. But it is an important aspect of that property because it does hold water. And we've videotaped the bullfrogs in the spring. It's amazing. It's a beautiful spot. And I've taken teachers up there, and they've said to me that they can see where that wetland, those ephemeral ponds, will be fantastic teaching experiences for the children of Summerland. And that we're excited to offer that as part of this plan. In addition to that, I wanted to introduce a gentleman we have with me here tonight, Ed Grafoni, who's with CTQ Consulting. And Ed's going to give some more of the technical perspective behind the plan. So I'll ask Ed to come forward. Thank you.
And Mr. Capone, if you could just tell us what your position is so that the corporate office can take that information.
Again, thank you, Your Worship. My name is Ed Grifoni. I'm a senior planner and one of the principals with CTQ Consultants out of Kelowna. We are engineers, planners, and urban designers. And my specialty is master plans, neighborhood plans, area plans, official community plans, working for developers and municipalities I have about 35 years of experience. That's my background.
Good, thank you.
And I've worked with Ian and some of his people for many years in the Valley as well. What I'd like to talk about, Your Worship, is just a little bit about like as Patrick indicated, some of the technical background and what we actually achieved very, very quickly over the last few months of creating this plan. The one on the left?
On the right.
Right. Good. So I have about 6 points, Your Worship. Number one is in all the work that, oops, I'm doing the right
You
one.
hit the side of the wheel, the right side of the wheel should do it.
Yeah, that's what I did. Have to aim it somewhere.
Technology is really impressive when it
You
works.
Just tell me and I'll move it for you.
There we go. Okay, first of all, Hunter's Hill, as was indicated, is already zoned for the proposed use. It is country residential already, and essentially the official community plan calls for more information to allow the actual use or the actual development to be approved within the context of the official community plan. However, remembering that the zone is already there, the zone is already in place, and so all of the work that we did over the last several months in negotiations and discussions with the municipality is based on the fact that that zoning was already in place. Second point I'd like to make is that it was a very comprehensive plan, and this plan was prepared in the context of a neighborhood plan. Could be called 10,000 other things, but it was in the context of a neighborhood plan specifically to create, in this case here, a new neighborhood. And what you see up here right now, Your Worship, is all of the different contents, if you will, of the comprehensive plan or of the neighborhood plan. We went beyond our call of duty, not only because of what we thought was appropriate for that land and important, but also because of what the official community plan asked for and what our discussions with staff and the public, what we felt was required as well. Those were contained within the neighborhood plan. So it is a very, very comprehensive plan. I won't get into all of the different elements of the plan, but it did require sub-consultants to be, or specialist consultants to be involved with us in the form of geotechnical engineers, wildfire management foresters, and environmental specialists as well. A lot of the maps and the figures and what have you that are contained in the document provide a lot of detail. I saw from some of the comments that came back from some of the people that were concerned about what was in the plan that it wasn't to sufficient detail. I have to beg to differ because I've done many, if not most, of the large plans in the Valley. This was very, very comprehensive, and we think in the case of the environmental report that was done, it was very detailed. The neighborhood plan has met all of the requirements from the official community plan. The official community plan policies actually call for the details that the city, or sorry, the district would like to see within the context of a plan like this. We went beyond what was actually required of the official community plan. We definitely met and addressed all those requirements, but we went beyond that as well. And some of the things that we are asked to do in all of those additional requirements in our discussions with Ian and his staff that were required included things like a visual impact analysis. From all the different public consultations and discussions we had, there was concern about how development, even though it was, as Patrick has indicated, is going to be relatively low density with 35 to 40 units up there and 35 to 40 lots up there, it's going to be relatively low density. However, people were concerned about the potential impact because of that hillside location and its visibility from various perspectives around the municipality. So we modeled all that very carefully. And as you'll see in a moment, we also looked at ridgeline, potential of ridgeline development, how that would be permitted or affected on the land as well. This project has not been about just laying out land use and adhering to the requirements of the official community plan, Your Worship. It was more about ensuring that we are using the appropriate areas for the appropriate uses and protecting a significant portion of the land for parks, green space, and wildlife corridors. And this figure in the map gives you a pretty good indication of the large proportion of land that's virtually protected. Yes, there are some units and lots within the context of some of those light green areas that you see. However, between the park, the covenant areas and the protected slope areas, steep slope areas that the municipality has the ability to protect. Over 50% of that land is protected. Public consultation, and like, as I mentioned, one of the main issues that kept coming up during public consultation, there was no large issues that kept coming up or that were prominent in the discussion, and all the people that were attended the meetings and or that sent us some of their correspondence and ideas and concerns and what have you. One of the bigger ones was with regard to the visibility of the development on the hillside and on the hilltop and on the ridge lines. This is an example of the ridgeline review that we showed or provided quite a detailed analysis to indicate to the people and to council and to staff that the ridgelines would not be affected by any roadways or developments, housing developments. There's a potential, just because of the geography and topography of that land, that you do not have to build on the ridge lines. There's one area where a road will come through the ridge area. So that was very, very important to us as we were doing the planning and engineering of that project. And lastly, Your Worship, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to Ian and his staff, Tom and his staff, Don and his staff, and of course Mayor and Council for a lot of the not only detailed involvement, dedication, and feedback that we got as we were going through this exercise. I find that when we do these kinds of plans, they're only as good as the input that's provided by not only as us as technical people and as planners, designers, and engineers, but as the staff we work with as well. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Graffin. You're going to stay here for further questions later on?
We're definitely going to be here, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Who else would like to speak to this issue? Anyone is welcome to. Please go right ahead. Just need your name and address for the record. And pull that down towards you, yeah, that's good.
I'm shorter than some of the population.
That's all right, don't you worry, it's okay.
My name's Janet Peake, and I live at 13396 McLaren. I have attended part of the public sessions that were held for Hunters Hills, and I certainly think it's going to be a good development for our area. I was concerned about visual impact, and I still have a question whether there will be design guidelines for the buildings themselves in terms of colors and blending with the slopes and colors that nature provides for that. So that was my main question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll get those answers for you. Thank you. I know the developer's taking some notes, and we'll answer some of these later on, so that's good. Thank you. Next speaker. Okay, is for a second time. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Thank you.
Lorraine Beness, 7400 Swallowbeck. Summerland is blessed with some very challenging areas to develop, and the Bentley Basin is one of them. The slopes of Rattlesnake have a lot of bedrock and little capacity to absorb water. It all works fine now, but with development comes more hard surfaces which concentrate the water and send it on downhill. The ability of the downstream areas to handle it are in question. The downstream property owners are at risk for added costs, and the District of Summerland is responsible for managing the situation. Ultimately, the taxpayer will have to pay to correct problems. You have recognized the challenge and are requiring other studies, etc. But I'm not reassured. In another development in the same basin, the Agricultural Land Commission required more drainage planning before allowing the conversion of the flatlands for industrial uses. That resulted in a very cursory document with a key error. It states that the drainage from the hillside development on Rattlesnake will enter the industrial lands at the north end, close to the exit drain down to the lake. No problem to the industrial development, and no need for those landowners to spend any money on a drainage system to handle excess water. This current neighborhood plan proposes a more realistic dumping of the drainage water at the south end of the industrial development. It then has nowhere to go, as there is no drainage infrastructure to connect it to the existing system at the north end. The phrase on-site attenuation seems to be their answer to the changes proposed. The predominant presence of bedrock makes this unlikely to work. The industrial area stormwater management plan also fails to meet the recommendations of the Summerland Master Drainage Plan. If a proposed development is located even partially within an area with a known or suspected high groundwater table, a site-specific groundwater investigation should be required as part of the development application review process. This investigation should identify groundwater conditions and recommend specific measures to mitigate potential problems. In the end, the consultant for the industrial development requires no expenditures on drainage works by the landowners upzoning from agriculture to industrial. The next issue of concern is that of adding water to the Rattlesnake lands proposed for residential development. You have recognized the potential problem from drainfield water and hard surface concentration of water, but there is no analysis regarding irrigation water additions. In 2008, Council refused this developer's request for an irrigation allocation as it was felt that there is not arable acreage here. The developer's agricultural assessment confirms this, but this neighborhood plan recommends various hobby farm options which require irrigation allocations. Careful consideration needs to be given to whether this is a viable option, as it has significant potential to add water to a challenging environment. The ultimate result will be problems for downstream property owners across the highway on the way to Okanagan Lake, and ultimately the necessity for the taxpayer to fund drainage improvements. This is a situation we already face in the Deer Ridge area. Further development in that area offers a cost-effective solution to that problem, but in the Bentley Basin, it is unlikely that future development will provide a bailout for the District of Summerland. I remember reviewing these issues in preparation for the 1996 OCP. It was clear at that time that North Prairie Valley offered a greater yield per acre of housing lots and the opportunity to fix problems from Deer Ridge through providing sewer service to the neighborhood. The fundamental change in direction for Summerland created in the 1996 OCP was the focus on developing residential housing on sewered lots. All these challenges are fixable. It's just a question of cost and who pays. I hope that you will defer this decision tonight to take another look at the whole complex situation and make sure it isn't the taxpayer who ends up with the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Lisa Scott, 8703 Palmer Place. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Summerland Environmental Science Group, of which a letter was received and read out by your corporate officer.
Yes.
I'd just like to highlight some additional information that was provided in that letter at tonight's public hearing. So the Summerland Environmental Science Group, so everyone is aware that is a total of 11 individuals that are all citizens of Summerland. Many of them are registered professional biologists or have other significant experience in the area of natural biodiversity and species at risk in the community. The Summerland Environmental Science Group has undertaken a preliminary review of the neighborhood plan with emphasis on the environmental assessment report contained in Appendix C. While we do not offer an opinion about whether the development is conceptually appropriate, we believe that certain aspects of the neighborhood plan as well as the environmental assessment report require improvements. As already read out tonight, overall, we believe that the neighborhood plan does include some progressive efforts to both identify and mitigate environmental values. However, additional environmental assessment is required before decisions are made about the appropriate number of lots, lot size, configuration, and road access. Also, the language in both the neighborhood plan and the environmental assessment should be strengthened. This is to provide clarity and certainty so that biodiversity values that potentially exist within the neighborhood plan area are identified and managed appropriately. Our letter does go into some specifics, which I won't go into all of them, with one exception. We believe that the environmental assessment report serves as a reconnaissance or a preliminary site survey, not a complete and detailed survey. A significant weakness exists in this report in relation to the number and timing of field days congruent with the generally accepted standards for conducting biodiversity surveys. The environmental report affirms that 4 days were spent on the site, including 2 days in February of 2004 and 2 days in April 2013. The report also states that, and I quote, "The timing of 2004 and 2013 field visits was not ideal for documenting breeding bird species. This seems to conflict with the requirement in the District of Summerland's terms of reference for environmental assessment reports, which states that inventories are to be performed at the best time of year for that species and habitat use." As well, the report also suggests that the provincially listed plants which may occur on the site, yet the timing of the surveys are inadequate for these inventories. The report also does not indicate whether surveys for bats, owls, and other species were undertaken. These surveys are appropriate for the size, scope, and natural habitat existing within the neighborhood plan area. A biodiversity survey conducted at the appropriate time of year for the species expected to be within the property may affect the ESA designations. Following this, the SESG makes the following recommendations to Council regarding approval of the neighborhood plan. The district should defer approval of the plan until an adequate environmental assessment is completed and considered in the context of determining the appropriate number of lots, their size, and their configuration. For example, approval of 50 one-hectare lots would likely eliminate the vast majority of ESA 2 designated land on the property, which, in our group's opinion, is inconsistent with the district's own terms of reference for environmental assessments. Alternatively, Council may choose to approve the neighborhood plan but not commit to the number of lots until such time that an adequate assessment and mitigation of ecological values be undertaken. The additional environmental assessments should inform the number and location of lots and access roads in accordance with the District of Summerland's terms of reference for environmental assessments, with particular reference to managing ESA 1, which is stated to conserve, and ESA 2 lands, which the district's terms of reference state to avoid, protect, and mitigate. And essentially, almost all of the land designated came up as ESA 1, with the majority coming up as ESA 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, who's next? Please feel free to come up. For a second time, is there someone else who would like to speak? Good, thank you. Welcome, Bryn. Good to have you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bryn White, 11118 Barclay Street. It's not very often that I'm able to come to speak at a public hearing, but I feel pretty strongly as a resident and someone who's raising our family in this community that this issue is really important. This potential development has a very big potential impactful change to the community, so it's with the utmost respect to these chambers that I bring these comments forward. I realize that the zoning for the property was provided before there was baseline information, and perhaps council didn't have all the necessary information about the nature of the challenges of the land, things we've heard about tonight, from water and waste, steep slopes, and road access, and the limitations of the land, the significant values that occur there at the time of zoning. Had there been an environmental assessment and the geotechnical analyses and even our urban growth strategy process, had it been done in full at that time, I think the proposed zoning and the neighborhood plan would probably look very different than it does now. The draft neighborhood plan does a really good cursory job in highlighting the significant ecological values of the Hunter Hill property. It does really outline that the ecosystems there that are rare and unique to the area, and many of which are at risk. Talks about important habitats for many species of wildlife, and it does reference the wildlife corridors that are really critical to the Crown land behind. The name Hunter's Hill and Rattlesnake Mountain really speak for themselves. Almost 100% of the property, as we just heard, is identified by a qualified environmental expert that's been hired by the proponent as environmentally sensitive areas 1 or 2, and these are the highest rankings out of 4, so it's fairly significant. And this is really consistent with what we're seeing with the biodiversity strategy for the whole South Okanagan, so it's good work. The currently allowed number of lots as 1 hectare, in addition to all the associated, the roads, the driveways, the infrastructure, and as well as all the allowed land uses, vineyards and livestock grazing, agritourism, outbuildings, all the components that come with all of those lots, the sheer number of people and their pets is going to bring a significant and irreversible impact to the ecological integrity of the area. It's effectively going to be developing almost 100% of the ESA2 areas. Even the set-asides, there will be impacts, spin-off impacts. So really those things are normally encouraged to be avoided within the Summerland zone terms of reference. So I have to say it was really nice to see the neighborhood plan included a proposed conservation area and part municipal parks as the ESA1 portion, and the trails provided for pedestrian access to the Crown lands beyond. But there are some inconsistencies and some concerning items within the neighborhood plan that I think with some additional consideration, some planning, some detailed analysis, and a bit more time would likely be solved. Approving the neighborhood plan as is just doesn't seem in line with the results of Summerland's really comprehensive and engaging urban growth strategy. So that process really dug deep into what Summerlanders feel are important, used experts to help us look at development scenarios with multiple lenses to make sure that we're going forward with what we value now and in the future. The phase 1 of that urban growth strategy really outlined the most important community needs and development preferences, the top 3 being increasing jobs, preserving farmland, and preserving natural ecosystems. And so 40% of the people that were involved in that strategy process said to achieve the Summerland they want, we need to either reduce or adjust the urban boundary to develop the vacant and underused lots, and or use those that are close to the core, include those that are close to the core. Hunters Hill was mentioned in the public engagement of one of the top 3 areas to keep free of further development in the urban growth strategy process. The 2 potential growth area analyses that were conducted by the planning experts within the urban growth strategy identified that Hunters Hill was one of the potential development areas that least positively fulfilled the 10 criteria within the development impact assessment model. And secondly, was not identified as a suitable area for development. And then further in the engagement process in phase 2, in every combination of criteria and weighting options explored in the urban growth strategy, Hunters Hill does not come out at all for suitable development. In fact, it's one of the top choices for areas identified in the strategy not to develop, and over 60% of the respondents said it should not be designated for future growth. So given that that zoning was provided without the benefit of much of the information we have now, and given the significant environmental values that will be undoubtedly at risk, and all the good work the council has done to engage the community on the future of sustainable growth and development, and given the fact that this potential development was ranked consistently in the urban growth strategy by experts in a multi-criteria analysis and by the community itself as not appropriate for further development or growth, I would ask this council to defer approval of the draft neighborhood plan and allow for more detailed consideration of the impacts, development of informed mitigation strategies, and really careful planning of a more appropriate scale and form of this development. And I thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Okay, who's next? Is there someone else who would like to speak to this issue? For a second time, is there someone else who would like to speak to this issue? And for a third and final time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Go ahead. And just to clarify once again, sorry, if you just tell everyone who you are.
Where I live again, 10818 Harris Road.
You'll get that address, yeah. Patrick Murphy.
Yeah, Patrick Murphy. As a developer, I appreciate hearing the different comments. As a resident of Summerland, I appreciate hearing the different comments. And as a downtown businessman on Main Street, I appreciate hearing the different comments. As a developer, I'd like to just give a couple of remarks, though. One of the concerns that I have when the urban growth strategy is brought up as a topic, I remember seeing the numbers that were put forward for Hunters Hill in the surveys, and it referred to 200 lots at Hunters Hill. Just remind council, we're talking about between 30 to 50 lots here with current zoning, not changing the zoning to allow for 200 plus lots. And I think that was the reference that that study was done. In fact, I know that because I paid very particular attention to that. Another really important topic is the phraseology of rattlesnake. I'd like to just, Ian, do you have figure 23 from the neighborhood plan handy there? It's within the neighborhood plan itself.
I'll go look
It's
for it.
in the visual impact study.
Oh, is it in the?
Yeah, in the plan itself.
Is it in the slides that Ed brought this in?
I'm not sure if it is. It's in the plan itself?
Yeah.
No, okay.
That wouldn't be easy.
Okay, no problem, sorry.
Can
It's,
you describe it to us? Can you?
yeah, for sure. I want to just talk about Rattlesnake Mountain briefly because that's an important topic. We don't own Rattlesnake Mountain. My family owns the property on Hunters Hill, which is near Rattlesnake Mountain. And if you look at the visual impact study, in particular item 23, you can see clearly that our development is one thing, Rattlesnake Mountain is a whole different thing. Rattlesnake Mountain looms large in that area. We are not Rattlesnake Mountain. We don't own Rattlesnake Mountain. We own Hunters Hill. The Rattlesnake Mountain itself, in, I think, 2009, received 1.8 million cubic meters of fill right along our lot line. That is enough to fill 160 Olympic-size swimming pools. Approximately, if every new lot on Hunters Hill built 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools, that's the impact that has already occurred on our lot line where it gets close to Rattlesnake Mountain.
Is that because of the highway?
That's the highway. They built a 4-lane road to deliver 1.8 million cubic meters of fill up to our lot line. So I definitely respect about the environment. I get it, and I do think that our professional planning team has done a heck of a job here, and I stand behind it fully as the developer and as a businessman and as a citizen of Summerland who cares about the town. We've raised our kids here, you're raising your kids here, and we want more kids here. And this is going to help accomplish that. So I just wanted to put that into perspective that there's been a massive change to the environment on Rattlesnake Mountain, which our 30 to 50 lots will never come close to even remotely matching. It has already occurred on Rattlesnake Mountain. There's other pre-existing site disturbances north of our property as well on Rattlesnake Mountain. The property directly north of the parcel we're giving as park, that has a winding driveway easement to service 2 houses. That's already built, that's already there. That parcel will have a new neighbor called Summerland Parkland that we're going to be giving to the District of Summerland. But that's already pre-existing. The Minty bulldozing business is our other neighbor toward Rattlesnake Mountain. To the other side of our property, there are 17 titles that are currently serviced by city roads, city electricity, city water, just like our land is already serviced by city roads, city water, and electricity. So on the north border, we have 1.8 million cubic meters. Surrounding the southern reaches, we have 17 titles that are already serviced, and 6 of those titles are newly zoned industrial. So I just wanted to make those points because I think it's important to put it into perspective when we're talking about the environment. We're not asking for permission to fill in a wetland. We're asking to hand the wetland over to the District of Summerland for environmental protection in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go through this again. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Certainly. Certainly, Mr. Graffin, go ahead, if you wish to speak.
Are we going to have a chance for rebuttal?
No, this is it. So if you wish to speak, now's the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is in the form of a rebuttal then to some of the comments that were made or answers to some of the questions that were
Please,
asked.
thank you.
Number one, just with regard to the visual impact analysis this lady up front here asked, there will be a building scheme imposed and registered against title to deal with the actual colors and design of homes and what have you. That's one of the most effective ways and very strong ways of dealing with building design on a hillside environment in a case like this. However, there's also the opportunity for the municipality to impose, and already does have, geotechnical or hazard area development permit that can be imposed to help with the development of the housing in certain locations as well, and environmental development permit as well. So it'll be layered. So there's lots of layers of control that the municipality has at its disposal. And that brings me to the next point, I think, that really, I think, serves well to advise council or to inform council and the public at this point, is that the public does have to understand that the municipality, through Ian's office especially, has a lot of opportunity during the development approval stage to deal with a lot of these matters that were brought forward, including environmental protection, including water drainage, and so forth. And the last point I just wanted to make with regard to, I guess, stormwater, and then as well as the environment, is number one, water and drainage was looked at very carefully. We are specialists at our firm in hillside development, and stormwater is, as this lady mentioned, very important up there. That was looked at, and the stormwater management plan was done, and there will be the requirement for more stormwater management as we get into the subdivision stage. That is not a difficult matter to actually address on a hillside environment. With regard to the environmental concerns and environmental protection, very valid. This is definitely an issue that, and why Martin Gebauer was brought into the project. We did ask to engage Ms. Scott and her group at a certain point during the public consultation. They refused to attend or to participate at that time, but did rightfully so provide some response and some comment at this point. But they did not engage with us earlier on. However, Martin did have the opportunity to talk to some of the members of the organization and people representing the environment in the area. And I just wanted to mention that in terms of environmental protection, there's probably not a lot of areas that are not within ESA 1 within Summerland and surrounding area, so that if that area is not developed to such a low density, the municipality will have a lot fewer areas to actually develop. And the last point is that, yes, this was you can call it a cursory job.
Maybe we could ask people to turn off their phones, please. Thank you so much.
I believe one of the presenters indicated that the environmental impact assessment was cursory. I, again, having reviewed many of the environmental impact assessments that have been done for projects throughout the Okanagan Valley in the last 24, 25 years that I've been here, this was very extensive, I believe, and I don't believe that assessment during other times of the year would pick up much different and this is according to Mr. Gebauer as well. However, that is a point of acknowledgement. However, the approving authority under the direction of Ian McIntosh still allows the municipality to be able to ask for more environmental impact as we get into further stages of the development approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, once again, please feel free. Thank you. Hi.
Hello, Karen Martins, 17013 Sanborn Street.
Thank you.
So I have the unique position of actually being the only person that actually lives next to this property. I live there. I have lived there for 16 years. And I think what we need to do is look at this as the opportunity it is for our town. This is a fantastic place to live. I love it there. It's right close to the highway, it's close to town, but you're right next to nature. So what will happen if this goes ahead is we're gonna have corridors opened up so people from town can do what I've been doing for the last 16 years, which is hiking out through there, riding my horse out through there, and accessing the crown lands that go up beyond, and it is world-class hiking. I'm not joking. I think people will move here to this development, to live there, to have that kind of lifestyle. But I think further than that, we have a tourism opportunity, a major draw to bring people that will just come to hike out there. Because I'm not kidding you, I've hiked almost all the way to Peachland. It is beautiful. So let's not miss an opportunity by closing our minds. Let's trust the people we have in place to do the job they've been hired to do. They're experts. They're here to protect the things they need to protect, to build the town. Let's trust them. A couple of things that came up that I wanted to address was the septic, because it's rough land out there. My house is about 40 years old. It's on septic, and there has never been a problem with it. So, again, it can be done, and we have those structures in place. And wherever it is at the works yard, they're going to take care of that kind of stuff. The visibility of houses was a concern to me. A few years ago, there was about an 8-acre piece directly across from me over on Bentley Road that was subdivided into 1-acre lots. Now I'm looking over there, so I've had 14 or 13 years or whatever looking just at a nice hillside with nothing on it but trees. And I was concerned about that. But as those houses have been built, they've blended the roof lines in with the trees, the ridge line, the coloring of the houses, and it's actually made a really nice community, I have to admit. Our own house disappears. You cannot actually see our house if you don't know it's there because of the coloring. So all of those things can be done, and I want to see that done. It's a beautiful, natural place. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the people that can come here to our community. We need to grow our community. We need these kind of developments to have people excited about coming here. So we have a great opportunity with that. So that's pretty much it. I know, Patrick has done a lot of work on this. I've read this neighborhood plan through. I've had my concerns. I live there. I love it there. I love this property. I've been all over it for years. Very, very familiar with it. I want this done well. I think he's done a very good job of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else would like to speak to this issue? Great, thank you. Just pull that microphone down a bit there, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Hi, Lisa Scott, 8703 Palmer Place. I just felt that it would be important to return to speak, just to respond to Mr. Griffon's comment about our environmental science group being invited to provide comment or a service. I just want to clarify what the Summerland Environmental Science Group is about. And our role is not to take away work opportunities from ourselves or others from outside the community. Our role is one of advisory to district staff and to our council as well. We were invited to by the proponent to provide a service free of charge. And I think it was a misunderstanding of what our group, the role that we play in the community. So I just wanted to provide clarity on that. We're always welcome to provide our advisory role, as we've done so this evening and through our letter.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that you did that, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Okay, a second time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? And for a third and final time, and then we'll close the debate. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then and go to the next section, which is where we consider this particular bylaw. Questions, of course, of our Director of Development Services. Can you answer any of the questions, particularly about the environmental?
Yes, Your Worship. I think
issues
one of
that have been done?
the significant items which Mr. Grifoni pointed out is there are still a significant amount of process to go through before any lots are actually created. This whole entire area is in our environmentally sensitive development permit area. So the environmental assessment was done. Normally that would inform the zoning exercise, but as been mentioned before, the zoning is already there, so the development rights are there. We are now looking at how best to allow a development to proceed in this sensitive environment.
Can you just tell us, when was the zoning done? I know it was before 1996, is
It
that
was
correct?
done before 1996. It was attempted to be removed in 1996. That didn't go well. It was put back on with the covenant that said it couldn't be developed without a neighborhood plan. And so here we are.
Here we are today. Gotcha. Sorry, go ahead.
So when the subdivision application comes in, there will have to be an environmentally sensitive development permit issued, as well as a wildfire hazard development permit. So there is another layer of opportunity to have, I would imagine, the fellow who's done the environmental assessment already to review the subdivision application, provide comment that we will have to look at, and our shared environmental planner will also look at, to ensure that the lot layout and the application has merit and is adequately dealing with the environmental issues.
Would you please explain as well, when this was brought to the table the last time, we had some major concerns, obviously, about sewer and water and so forth. The next week, we went back and put in some more stipulations. Can you explain what that process was?
Yeah, there's a section called technical review that was essentially drafted with the help of our Engineering and Public Works Department that suggested further clarity as to how much and the nature of additional study that's going to be required at the time of subdivision. And a section was drafted that explained that in detail, and that has been included into the neighborhood plan as section 11.1 called technical review, and clearly identifies to any person who's reading the neighborhood plan that there has already been significant study, and you can tell by the table of contents there's an awful lot of appendices to this document. But it does suggest that there will be further study in that document, mostly engineering study, before any subdivision would be approved.
Okay. Discussion? Comments? Questions? Who'd like to start? Councillor Van Elfen to start?
Just a comment, Your Worship, if I may. Under the technical review, these are concerns that I brought to the table prior to this going back to our public works people, like the Sanborn Road and the Bentley Road entrance. I'm sure I drove the developer nuts when I asked all these different questions, but I thought they were pertinent at the time.
That's right.
And this has alleviated a lot of my concerns, especially with drainage. We talk about further geotechnical studies, my concerns with roof and driveway drainage situations. I'm not reading the whole thing here, but I think a lot of these concerns have been addressed and will be addressed as time goes along. I respect some of the comments tonight about the environmental, but you're assuring me that we will have different avenues along the way prior to subdivision stage to review some of these further?
Yes, Your Worship, we can get additional detail when we have a particular application that shows lot lines and potential housing sites. That will require a development permit to proceed, and we can get additional information at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hackey and then Councillor Robson.
Councillor Robson, did you have a question? I was going to put the motion on the floor.
Just comment on the technical review.
Let me put them on the floor then.
Go ahead. It's a bit of a mouthful. If you
No,
want
that's
to leave
fine.
some of the numbers out, you're welcome to, as long as you just abbreviate what we're actually looking at. It's fine.
All right, move that bylaw 2014-0212A amend official community plan bylaw 2000-310 to change the designation of Lot 1 District Land 472 ODYD Plan 148, accept plans 21118 and KAP 51691, 11700 Sanborn Street, Lot 1 District Land 1178 ODYD Plan KAP 91886, 18654 Garnet Valley Road. That part District Land 1178 outlined red on Plan B1755 ODYD, except parts outlined red on Plans B5590, B3577, and B7646, and accept Plan KAP 9186 19013 Bentley Road from open land to rural residential, and B, amend official community plan bylaw 2000-310 to add Hunters Hill neighborhood plan as shown on Schedule C to the Director of Development Services staff report dated October 14th, 2014, as amended after first reading by adding Section 11.1, technical review outlined in Director of Development Services staff report dated September 15th, 2014, as subsection .12 to Section 8.2.1 secondary plans, and C, amend Schedule J neighborhood plans map of OCP bylaw 2000-310 to add properties noted above, be given a second reading as amended, and be given third reading and finally adopted. And that bylaw 2014-022 to A, amend official community plan bylaw 2014-002, currently with the ALC, to change the designation of Lot 1 District Land 472 ODYD Plan 148, except Plans 21118 and KAP 51691, 11700 Sanborn Street. Lot 1 District Land 1178 ODYD Plan KAP 91886, 18654 Garnet Valley Road. The part District Land 1178 outlined red on Plan B 1755 ODYD, except parts outlined red on Plans B 5590, B 3577, and B 7646, and accept Plan KAP 91886, 19013 Bentley Road from open land to rural residential, and B, amend official community plan bylaw 2014-002 to add Hunters Hill neighborhood plan as shown on Schedule C attached to the Director of Development Services staff report dated October 14th, 2014, as amended after first reading by adding Section 11.1 technical review outlined in the Director of Development Services staff report dated September 15th, 2014, as subsection .12 to Section 8.2.1 secondary plans, and C, amend the Schedule J neighborhood plans map of OCP bylaw 2014-002 to add the properties noted above, be given second reading as amended and third reading.
Take a deep breath.
Great, now we can talk
Good
about it.
job. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconder, thank you. Councilor Robson, you had some questions. You know
You wanna
what,
speak
you know,
to
I
it?
was,
Go ahead.
if you're,
I just wanted to get it on the floor properly.
go ahead, yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. My concern was with the technical review, and I see that that's been addressed, and I just wanted to make it clear to the audience that the entire cost of the reviews and all works identified in the reviews or outlined in this neighborhood plan will be at the expense of the developer at the time of subdivision. So there is the opportunity here with future development plans to ensure that we are protected as a community, and I think it's imperative that we recognize that we're here to ensure that planning is done properly and that developers follow procedures that are required and that we adhere to the requirements of the apps.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Christopherson.
When this development first came to light, and my first thought was, we don't want another thing that's happening out in Prairie Valley with Deer Ridge, where the drainage is still an issue down there, and I think the fear that a lot of people have here is that if this is passed tonight, that it's a clear run for the developers. That is not true. There are so many built-in procedures here, regulations that they have to go through, and there'll probably be a number of things that have not been identified yet. They will be identified along the way, and I'm confident that they will be dealt with.
Okay. Councilor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. At the last meeting, I made it clear that with the country residential designation that my biggest concern at that point was, what happens with perk tests and so on an individual lot basis. And I was assured by the planner that, those perk tests would be required in any particular lot that didn't meet those specifications wouldn't be developed, right? Okay, now that's one aspect, and given the size of these lots, I can, appreciate that there could easily be enough area to satisfy perk tests for a septic service on those lots. But given that, my concern actually goes beyond the specifics of this development, and it's mentioned a little bit, it's been mentioned tonight. I think the developer mentioned the attenuation pond for the stormwater, the extra water that's going to be coming through. What concerns me is that there is a disconnect between the attenuation pond and the works that provide drainage through the natural drainage system to the lake. And given that there's that disconnect, and the fact that we're developing the industrial lands, and those industrial lands will be built up in terms of to create a level area for the operations of any industrial operation. So there's going to be a tendency for the quote high water table situation in that area to back the water up towards the farmland side. And part of the stipulation that the Agricultural Land Commission made when it said that it was okay to move ahead with the removal of that land, or gave it a green light back in the 90s to move towards development or removing it from the land reserve, was that drainage would be an issue that would be dealt with in order to comply with the rationale of removing it from the land reserve. And so my concern here is to what happens with the overall water. I'm also concerned about the fact it's been mentioned that there will be some farming aspects to some of these lots, which could happen. And I also understand, and perhaps Ian or somebody else can supply me with the answer, that indeed in 208 there was a request for irrigation water and it was apparently refused. And any extra allocation of irrigation water for land would be actually fairly difficult if you were looking at, say, the 160 acres, because we have other areas where there's been a request for a number of acres of irrigation allocation and it hasn't been forthcoming. So I wonder about the idea of the extra water required for that, and I'm also wondering about the actual aspect of water flow from the ag land portion close to the attenuation pond through to the existing drainage works that are in place to take any excess water through to the silt bluffs, et cetera, close to the lake. Because if there's any substantial addition over above natural flows, there could be mitigation required from the highway to the lake.
Yep.
So getting to another, a point that complements this is that there's going to be a cost required to supply a complementary or a joining of the systems through from the Sanborn Road area through to the existing drainage works. Who pays for that is what I'd like to know. And because the Summerland residents shouldn't be dealing with that particular cost. Basically, I agree with a lot of the comments here that this, we've got a development here that has promise. The fact that it has country residential now, I'm not sure I ever would have agreed to getting it country residential, but that's now close to 20 years ago that happened. So we have to deal with what we've got right now, and we have to make sure that the taxpayers of Summerland are not going to be dealing with remediation efforts of stormwater, additional water through any agricultural application or allocation that may be given, and so on. So
Can we see if maybe he could give us some answers to
yeah, okay,
your
perhaps
questions?
if I'm not sure I'm asking a question or
Well, you were talking about
whatever,
the
but just hang
water.
on just a minute. Yeah, I guess there's a question around that in terms of who pays. The fact that any connecting of those systems is beyond the scope of this particular development. And so I kind of wonder what happens there. And this is one of the reasons why I tend to agree, despite the fact that, I've so far said, okay, this looks like a good development and so on and so forth. But I would rather have more discussion between staff and the developer. In other words, refer back to staff in order to resolve some of the things that I've just brought up, as well as to resolve some of the issues that have been brought up by the public tonight.
Okay, can we just try and get some answers, please?
Yes, Your Worship. Resolution of most of those issues will happen at the time of subdivision. Again, we're talking about a neighborhood plan here, which is a guiding document that suggests how a particular piece of property should be developed. And we're dealing with a property that already is zoned. And the fact that it's already zoned is a significant impediment, if you like, to try and decide what densities are appropriate, what off-site works might be a requirement of zoning and other sorts of things, because that ship has sailed already. So we're left with subdivision. The zoning determines the density. We do have our subdivision and development bylaw that suggests that there cannot be any more water coming off a site post-development than there was pre-development. And that's a standard condition for every subdivision. And that may mean that there has to be storm detention ponds or other drainage facilities or some other way to make sure that the water coming off after the work is completed is no different than what was coming off before. So those issues are very valid, and we will be investigating those much further at the time of subdivision when we have road layouts, we have lot layouts, we have building envelopes. But until we get there, it's very difficult to answer off those questions.
Do you want to finish up your statement?
Yeah, I guess what the people and myself are concerned about is the ensuring that will occur. And we're looking at sort of the 1 in 100 year event, say, that will add to any existing or any water that is added to that site. I know my fellow councillors last time talked about additional sewage water and so on, and domestic water. I wasn't as concerned because I felt the lots were large enough to take care of that. But over and above that, there's additional irrigation water that may or may not be applied. If there's no irrigation allocation, I would assume that there's no additional water over and above domestic for any other use on those lots. If they want to spin the water out from domestic to be able to grow some grapes, that's fine, but I can't see an irrigation allocation being given to the properties. So in over and above that, though, I am concerned about the costs to Summerland of dealing with, I know you say that it has to be contained and no more after than before, but I guess, I don't want to be in a position if I told you so 30 years down the road, and I may still be alive then.
Let's
So,
go on to.
Okay, that's enough.
You were
Thank you.
talking about deferral. You're welcome to bring
Well,
that up again.
yes.
Hold that thought. Let's get through some.
Okay.
A lot of people want to speak, so hold the
Yeah,
thought.
okay,
maybe.
I actually would like to make a motion to defer.
Will
Is
you
that
hold?
possi-
Will
I'll
you?
hold that,
Will you
yes.
hold that thought
Sure,
for just a
yeah.
moment? I'd just like to get some of the questions out of the way
Sure,
and some of the
fine,
comments
of
first.
course, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Hallquist, Hacking and Van Alphen.
So, a couple of comments, Your Worship. This particular area has been slated for development, have been talked about development for as long as I've lived in this town, which has been a couple of years.
You should clarify that
In
it's
a-
probably
in
been
a-
over
in a
60
lot-
years.
In a lot higher density than what we're talking about today. So I'm quite happy to see the lower density. I would not want to see the 200 lots or whatever on that hillside. And I'm also very satisfied that the fact, and I think probably a more appropriate name to this plan that's been submitted here tonight is not necessarily a neighborhood plan, but a preliminary neighborhood plan, because, there's a lot of, this is a proposed development, and there's a lot more, studies and so on that have to be done before there will ever see any houses there. So, we're probably a few years away from that, for sure. I think just from what I've seen presented so far, I think there's a good balance that's been struck between the environment and the development. And I'm going to be quite happy to support the the motion.
Councillor Hacking?
Thank you. I've been pretty satisfied with the process this has followed. I think throughout each stage from when I first started on council, which this was already long started, through the open houses, through the different information and research that the district has had, and on to the neighborhood plan that was provided, which I thought was a substantial document to have at this particular stage, even before subdivision. There were concerns raised at the table and regarding drainage and sewage, and I think council has kind of addressed those even above and beyond what a normal process for this type of development would have through the proposals listed for the subdivision stage. These are large lots. That's what it comes down to. These are country residential lots, 1 hectare. I think we can address drainage, sewage, environmental values all at the subdivision stage in an appropriate development that will suit the community well, provide some really spectacular view lots that I think will be showcases for what Summerland can really have as far as property. My parents live out near that area, and the view is spectacular, and I'm kind of excited to think that there'd be more properties available for purchase similar to what my parents live in, and I think it's a good proposal. I think it's gone through an extraordinary process and still has a long, extraordinary process to go through, so I'll be supporting it.
Okay, Councillor Van Elden?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just back to this 11.1 in the technical review. It states that it should be noted that these technical reviews will be required to include a review of any off-site or downstream impacts. The entire cost of these reviews and all works identified in the reviews or outlined in this neighborhood plan will be the expense of the developer at the time of subdivision. So I know my concerns have been addressed at this point in time, and I'm willing to go forward with this.
Okay, Councillor Christopherson?
One thing that hasn't been mentioned here that I look on as favorable for this development is that its location, that you don't have to funnel all traffic through town like we would have to if more development took place out in Prairie Valley. So to me, the location, they don't have to drive through town to get home.
Thank you. Could I ask our corporate officer or our CAO, when someone wishes to put a motion on to defer, it supersedes everything else, is that correct?
Correct.
Councillor Waterman, I did want to give you the opportunity. You did ask about deferral. Did you wish to put a motion on the floor?
I have one question before I do
Of course.
that, Your
Go
Worship.
ahead.
Our planner or head of development services indicated that, the aspects around the subdivision process are, part of the legalities of the process. To what extent, given that we already have country residential zoning there, is there any possible way legally to do anything else other than leave it to the subdivision process, in terms of addressing some of these concerns? Are we barking up a tree where we're wasting our time is what I'm getting at.
You ask a very good question, and other than changing the zoning of the property to something else, you make a good point, and that this is a guiding a development that is legally able to happen. So I am not sure that, other than setting out very good policies as to how that development is going to happen, and the protections we have in place already with the environmentally sensitive development permit area and the wildfire development permit area, there probably is little that can be achieved beyond where we are now, other than the subdivision process.
Did you wish to put any other motion on the floor? You want to think about it for a moment? I have a couple
Yeah, I will.
questions.
You
Okay,
go ahead.
let me
You go
ask my
ahead, yeah.
questions then. There was a concern about not committing to the number of lots. When does that stage happen? Because we've talked about 30, maybe up to 50. When does that process?
That process will come, Your Worship, with the subdivision applications. When they actually put pen to paper to draw lot lines and meet the guidelines that have been expressed in the neighborhood plan, if that gets adopted, and go through all the protections that are, and all of the study that's required, that will indicate, I'm sure, where the lot lines can be, and that is when we will get further, that's when those details will come forward, where the lots are, where the roads exactly are, and then that's when that comes.
So we could, at that point, given the studies that are required at that time, end up with 30 or possibly as many as 50.
Exactly.
Okay. Because the reason I asked that is that there was a question, or there was a concern made that would we consider not putting a commitment of how many houses, but in fact, that's exactly what we are doing. It's not putting a commitment as to the number of houses until the environmental studies are done. Is that correct?
Technically, the commitment to the number of houses was put in place with the zoning. We are now suggesting, is it, given all these other parameters that feed into that,
Yes.
can we really achieve that density or not? And it is unlikely that we will achieve the density that the zoning allows because of all these other parameters. How much it will be affected, we won't know till we get there.
Okay, let's suppose that they're 1 hectare, it's a fair amount of land per lot. Suppose they do want to get into a farming business that does require a lot of water. What process happens at that stage?
Well, the zoning right now allows country residential lots to do agriculture if they're over 1 acre.
Yes.
These all are, so
Yes.
they conceivably could do some farming. If they want irrigation water, they are going to have to apply to the district under our current rules for allocation unless the rules are different when we get there. And then council would make a decision at that time. Otherwise, they have, as Councilor Waterman said, they have a domestic connection and they can use that to water their yards, do their farming, do whatever is
Yes.
allowed in the zoning
Okay.
with that service that they have for their house.
The problems that we have at Deer Ridge, what size of lots are those approximately? I know there's various sizes, but in your
They're in the
opinion, what would be
neighborhood,
percent?
Your Worship, of 1/3 of an acre.
So they're 1/3 of an acre, so they're considerably smaller, because the problems that we have there are huge by comparison, but also the amount of development there is much higher density than.
These are 2.5 acres each. Those are 1/3 of 1 acre each.
Okay. Obviously, councils come and go, obviously. What happens if this developer ends up selling this or doesn't decide to develop any further for a number of years? What happens at that stage?
If the property is sold, the neighborhood plan, if it's adopted, becomes part of our official community plan, and it will stay with that document until such time as future councils decide to change it. So if anybody was to come in and either buy the property or apply to develop it, they would have to comply with the terms of the neighborhood plan that's part of the official community plan, and all the other layers of environmental assessment, development permit, and wildfire development permit, et cetera.
Okay, and, no, I think actually that those are my questions. I think that I will support it, but I'm going to go Councillor Robson and then Councillor Waterman.
One question with respect to the perk test. When is that done? Is that done after the lots are put in place, or is that done prior to the lots going into place?
Your Worship, that is done when the subdivision application is made to prove that there is a viable septic field so that the lot can be created.
Thank you.
Councillor Waterman?
Thank you, Your Worship. 2 things. What is the cost per lot for, right now, for additional allocation for irrigation?
I don't have that information, I'm
I
sorry.
understand it's $10,000 for an application for allocation. I think that's written somewhere in one of our
Actually,
our
that-
bylaws. Is that correct in the master plan? or-
Worship, I don't have that in front of me, but I was provided that information today, and it was $10,000
I thought- it
per
sounds familiar.
hectare.
Yes.
Per hectare?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be a fee that would have to be paid for any allocation to any particular lot to provide irrigation for that purpose,
Yes.
right? So that is of concern to me, because it's been kind of liberally said that this agriculture could take place, and this is a cost that would be taken up by any owner of that,
Yes.
unless it was a group decision by the
Yes.
developer.
My concern was more for the water.
Pardon me?
My concern was more for the water and how
Yeah,
the water
I
would be
guess
used on the
it's
land
just
and flow
that there's an
down.
awareness here that, of the cost, that it should be clear. The other thing that concerns me, and I understand the subdivision aspect and requirements that can be required at that time at the subdivision level, but requiring certain studies to be done, say for example for flows through the whole drainage system to the lake, seems to me that's a very open-ended thing. There can be a study, but in terms of the cost of actually doing the works, is that specified in 11.1? It is. The cost of the works as well as the cost of of the upgrades? Because at this point, there's no, until those studies are done, there's no idea of what those costs might be.
That's right.
To bring that about.
Certainly, they'll change if this is over a number of years. And
Yeah,
go up.
yeah, of
Yes.
course, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to be clear with that, and
Okay.
I guess I have a lot of questions about that, and I'm sort of wavering a bit here because I'm worried about, on the one hand, if the developer's required to pay this, it could be an incredible cost,
If the developer can't pay it, the developer doesn't move forward,
I guess.
right?
I guess.
I mean, we had exactly that issue with Deer Ridge, where a development was actually stopped and did not go forward because they could not afford the $2.5 million to get the sewer from Cartwright up to the Deer Ridge area. So that was why it was actually put on hold. Tom Day, you wanted to answer, I think, Councillor Waterman's question?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that to the best of my knowledge, there's no bylaw requirement for a $10,000 fee. I mean, it might be mentioned in a master plan, but that doesn't have a legal obligation. So, and I think council is well aware that they've really instructed staff to have a really good hard look in terms of our quantity of water and how we allocate that water. And council's well aware that we haven't allocated any additional water since I've been here. And that's because we've undertaken a study to look at water availability and water allocation. And we're almost to the point where we're able to bring that to council. We've got a first draft. In fact, staff has a meeting tomorrow to talk about what we're going to do with that information. So I just didn't want to go with a misconception. To the best of my knowledge, there's no legal requirement to charge $10,000 for water allocation.
Okay, any other questions? Comments?
Call the question.
I'd like to call the question if we could. Okay. My final comments are I want to say thank you also for doing the work that was done. I had voted against this the last time with the extra insurances that we put on to safeguard this, and knowing that future councils will face this and that their diligent work will make sure that it is done well, I'll be voting in favor. All those in favor? Opposed? Opposed with Councillor Waterman. Thank you. Motion is carried. Next item on the agenda. Next item on the agenda is, in fact, my report. It's just a short report. Several of us attended the UBCM in late September and found the week educational, beneficial for networking with colleagues, and our meetings with ministers were very successful. Our goal was to ask the provincial government for help with funding for the Garnet Valley water supply to separate the domestic from the agricultural lines, hook the domestic users onto the main water treatment plant, and help with the expansion of the dam spillway. To date, I've had 3 presentations with council's goals and objectives, one for the Yacht Club, the Summerland Golf and Country Club executive members, and the Rotary Club. If your group would like a presentation, please feel free to call Karen Jones at Municipal Hall and we'll organize a date and a location for you. Summerland's sister city of Toyokoro, Japan. Summerland's sister city is Toyokoro, Japan, and for the first time in nearly 10 years, they sent a delegation of 13 citizens to Summerland last week. The council committee members, including Darlene Forsdick, Laurie Ford, and several others, spent hundreds of hours of organizing an amazing trip for this delegation that included seeing many of the Summerland famous locations, getting opportunity to visit and shop at several of our businesses, to celebrate the Toro Lantern with some of Summerland's Japanese Canadians, and getting the opportunity to showcase some of Japan's more popular items and meeting some of Summerland's entrepreneurs and seeing their products. People have asked me what makes this relationship so important. Why do we work so hard to keep this friendship strong when they are nearly 9,000 kilometers away from Summerland? Why are we doing all of this work? Having a relationship with a country that's so far away, so culturally different, is an incredible opportunity. We send children on exchange trips where they learn and experiences our differences and gain new friendships. We send a young person to teach English to their students on a yearly basis, offering them a job opportunity and an experience unlike anything they have ever done before. And we send delegates who want to learn about Japan, their customs, their language, their land, their farming operations, their businesses, and to share in this amazing friendship. I am so proud of the fact that we work to keep this relationship strong and healthy. I want to thank this council for the number of times they attended events last week and for their continual support of this program. And in 2 years, we'll celebrate the 20-year anniversary with Torokoro and over 25 years with a sister city relationship with Japan. Summerland, be proud of your long and healthy relationship with this incredible country of Japan and the wonderful community of Torokoro. The only thing I know, arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much. And I'll ask our CAO if you have a report tonight.
Actually, my report is our departmental second period report, so I'll ask Corporal Haley to lead us off there.
You waited a long time, Corporal Haley. Thank you so much for being here. And you've got a report for us?
I do.
Thank you.
Your Worship, Council, what I'll be presenting is the policing report for this quarter. This reporting period encompasses the third 3-month period of the calendar year 2014, which is July 1st to September 30th. The intent of this correspondence is to provide Mayor and Council with a brief overview of policing operations as they pertain to the town of Summerland. Each RCMP detachment is mandated to prepare an annual performance plan which addresses identified local policing priorities. These are identified through consultation with elected officials, senior staff members, community policing advisory committees, and other stakeholders. As such, our 2015 plan focuses on the following areas. Number 1 is contribute to safe roads. Okay. Number 2 would be to reduce the abuse of drugs. Number 3 is the police community relations and police visibility. Number 4 is contribute to safer youth. Number 5 is crime reduction and the prolific offender management. And number 6 is contribute to safer, healthier Aboriginal communities. Crime stats for this quarter, I'll just go over a few of them that I've identified that are somewhat concerning. One is assaults. We've shown a 14% decrease in assaults for this quarter we went from 24 this period to, and we had 28 last year at the same time. Sexual offenses, we had quite a significant increase with a 233% increase. In the 3-month period, reporting period for 2013, we had 3 reported offenses. In this period, we had 10, so that's quite concerning.
Any idea why?
No, a lot of these, what we find are historical events that have occurred and are now being reported to us.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And like I say, we're continually investigating those. They take up a great deal of time as well.
And it could be not necessarily 10 criminal offenders. It could be less than that doing more than one crime.
It's right now we're looking at 10 reported offenses.
Okay.
So, like I said, and we're not saying just one offender committing 10 crimes. A lot of these, like I said, are usually historical offenses that may have occurred 5, 10, 15 years prior that are now being reported as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Break-in enters to businesses. We have a 180% increase, which is quite high. We went from 5 to 14 for this quarter. Theft of vehicle. 256% increase. 32 reported occurrences in this quarter compared to 9 last year. This includes not only automobiles as cars, trucks, etc., but ATVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes, anything that's falls under the classification of a vehicle.
Okay.
Frauds show a 140% increase, which is concerning as well. A lot of these frauds are internet-based frauds, where people, unfortunately, they get lured into getting involved in certain transactions and they end up losing their money. And there's been, through John, there's been lots of education through the media, and we've spoken to it not only locally, but provincially and nationally as well. And the internet, it has a lot of great value, but it also is unfortunately, quite the medium for people to commit these types of crimes as well. Drug possessions are up 45% this quarter. And impaired driving, or what's listed on your report as IRPs, or immediate roadside prohibitions, are up 54%. We went from 26 last reporting period to of last year to 40 during this quarter.
You've mentioned several, but there are also several that either the same or down, so.
Yes, there are some
There's
that,
several.
that are down as well. As one, breaking under other is down 45%.
Yeah.
Theft from vehicles, which is nice to see, is down 25%. And a lot of those crimes were, in the past, we found that people just leaving their vehicles unattended, doors unlocked, windows rolled down, and there's crimes of opportunity a lot of times.
Yes.
And mischiefs, just a slight change of 2% over this period as well.
24-hour suspensions, you're down from 10 to 4. It's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yet our impaired or immediate roadside prohibitions are up significantly as well. So I don't have an answer for that. And again, there's lots of education about drinking and driving. You know, I can remember from when I was a child, this, as it was published, and today it's still as important.
Yeah.
Some people get it, some people don't. So, during the quarter, or the third quarter of 2014, Summerland RCMP responded to 809 calls for service compared to 843 calls received during the third quarter of 2013. This is a decrease of 4%. The Summerland RCMP responded to 5% fewer criminal code files throughout the detachment area during the third quarter of 2014 than during the same quarter last year. We made some notable arrests during this quarter. As we said, the vehicle thefts were up significantly, but during this quarter, we're looking at that we recovered a stolen travel trailer along with a large amount of stolen property that was in the Summerland area. This resulted in the arrest of one person. 2 more arrests were made after our members recovered a stolen boat and trailer. They were stolen from Vernon, recovered in Summerland, and we ended up arresting a male and a female associated to that. And we also recovered a quad, a stolen quad. The owners had no knowledge that it was even stolen. It wasn't until we went knocking on their door with a recovery. And again, we arrested and two persons, a male and female, are facing charges for that as well. As far as Summerland Human Resources, we remain steady. We have 9 police officers in Summerland, and we have 2 municipal staff, municipal clerks, also at the detachment. Our members, as far as contribution to safe roads, our members continue to conduct road checks throughout the community. What we're targeting during these road checks are licensing requirements, vehicle equipment, impaired driving, and distracted driving, and that also contributes to the increase in the impaired drivers or IRPs that we were successful at getting during this past quarter. We also have the volunteer Citizens on Patrol, or the Speed Watch, that contributes to being out in the community. They're monitoring people's speed, and they're also assisting us at looking at distracting driving as well. Throughout 2014, the Summerland Detachment will focus on enhanced enforcement nights where known drug dealers and drug houses are targeted for enforcement. We've been very successful in that. Being a smaller detachment, we know when these things are occurring. And we have no problem with giving these people our undivided attention. And
How gracious of you.
Yeah, it's what we do for the community. And what's
Good.
really good about it is that those people that come into the community for this purpose, they understand that it's not tolerated, and we do see them quickly packing up and leaving and going to another community.
Good for you.
As far as the police community relations and police visibility, we recognize that the importance that police visibility contributes to RCMP priority of safe homes, safe communities. The Summerland Detachment will be encouraging our members to continue to participate in community events within their operational constraints. Some of the things that we've done during this past quarter, we assisted the Summerland ATV Club. They held their provincial jamboree here in Summerland in August. Or in July, sorry, and our members assisted with traffic control so that they could have somewhat of a parade, bringing all of their representatives into the community to visit. I believe it was it Summerland Suites?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we assisted with that. We participated in the forum. Right now, there's a lot of concern in the community from the policing perspective, and actually with the fire department as well, with the number of serious accidents that occur, collisions that occur on the highway. So we're presently engaged with the Ministry of Transportation as far as the speed limits through Summerland. What we found, or what we do find, is that when you enter Summerland, there are so many different changes in such a short period of time, and we believe that contributes to driver confusion as to what actually is the speed limit from boundary to the north to boundary to the south. So we're engaged with the Ministry of Transportation, and again, we're in partnership with the fire department to address that, to make it more in line with what the province has in other communities as well.
Yes, yes, and Councillor Hacking has been attending those meetings as well, so good, good to have.
We also have the use of Crime Stoppers through the region. I'll just mention that in this quarter, we had 12 tips reported to us, and conducted 19 follow-ups as well during this quarter. And these tips are quite valuable because even though they're reported anonymously, they do lead us in the direction of others that are committing crimes that we may not otherwise know about. So that's quite valuable. Contributing to safer communities. To assist the Summerland detachment in realizing the goal of contributing to safer communities, 3 initiatives have been identified for 2014 and continued. One is to continue support of the Restorative Justice Program, the High-Risk Youth Programming, and the School Liaison Program. The Summerland Detachment Commander is engaged in 2 committees with the focus on high-risk youth and being the Interagency Committee, as well as the CYC, or the Child Youth Committee. And as well, what we've done, and we've done it in past years and we continue to do it now, is that we assign our constables as liaison members with the different schools in the community, so that they're hands-on with each school as well.
Good.
And that's about all I have to report on this. So like I said, I've just gone over more or less the highlights of the report.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there's any questions. Council? Councillor Christopherson?
Does Summerland still have the distinction of having the lowest crime rate in the province?
Historically, there's other communities that also have low crime rates, one being Oak Bay on Vancouver Island by Victoria. But Summerland historically continues to have one of the lowest, I'm not going to say the lowest, but one of the lowest crime rates in the province, yes.
Our sergeant, many years ago, Sergeant Orv Robson, was here for 12 years and made sure that we were as crime-free.
Your Worship, I always like to compare our crime stats with the rest of the province. And just outside of Vernon, there's a little community that's got the university on it, but no business community.
Yeah.
They always seem to beat us, but I only attributed that to the fact that they didn't have a business. They didn't have a business area. We all know the name of the community.
Any other questions?
Just concerns with respect to the sexual assaults, and I would assume that's, like you're saying, they're historical, so I was a little concerned when I first looked at that, so thank you for responding to that for me.
We have a small gift for the detachment office at the UBCM. The District of Summerland was awarded by the, sorry, I'm going to get this name.
Council.
The Canadian Council, the BC Wood Industry, okay, awarded this to the District of Summerland for the amount of wood that was used during the building, of course, of your RCMP detachment. So this was awarded to us at a Silka luncheon at the UBCM, and so we're hoping that you'll put this up somewhere in the detachment as part of our pride of what was done to build your detachment and to build it with wood. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there any more that you'd like to share with us? Are you okay? We'll go on to the next report.
No, that's good. I think everybody's pressed for time right now anyway.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bruce. Take care. Okay, our CAO, Tom Day, I apologize. Go
I'm
ahead,
actually
John.
the corporate officer tonight too, Jeremy Gill.
Okay, good. You go right ahead.
Our director, Mo, is always the corporate officer, and
Yes.
the director of corporate services is Bill.
Yes.
Tonight
Okay,
is
good.
staff's second period report, and for the benefit of those in attendance and the community, this is where staff report out to council in terms of their advancement in achieving council's goals and objectives, and towards informing council of our progress in terms of every major initiative and major budget issues that council had. And so we generally do that 3 times a year, and this is for the month of June through September. Very briefly, I think there's a number of prospective council members in the audience, and I imagine hopefully watching on the television. A year ago, council, we went through an exercise where we identified council's goals and objectives. And what we do is basically sit down with council and give them an opportunity to outline what they want to achieve for the next 2 years. And hopefully, particularly now that they're 4-year terms, it should be more of a strategic planning exercise with some long-term vision. But when I was hired here, I implemented this, and the council that hired me had a very clear view of where they wanted to go. And so we got right to the gist of that. So council had about 6 key objectives. So first was to review the financial feasibility of increasing services and key functions. So this is an opportunity where council really said, okay, we need more service here, less service here, how can we do it? And so we compiled a package that the council considered at their budget time frame to take a look at how we could do that. And council went through that piece by piece. And when we adopted our budget in May, council was satisfied with what we could afford and what we could deliver. The second key objective was to explore opportunities to generate revenue from sources outside taxation and focus those alternative resources on infrastructure improvements. Personally, I think this is one of the most important things that Summerland needs to do. We have this massive infrastructure deficit that's growing and growing, and although I won't be here to help you, it's something that I think council and staff have to really focus on, because we're just getting farther and farther behind. And so there was a number of objectives in terms of trying to achieve that. One, we talked about a regular funded capital reserve. And in fact, at the next council meeting, we'll be coming to council with a bylaw. We'll establish a regularly funded capital reserve. Lori will present that, and it'll talk about some sources to fund that outside of taxation. The second was to find a suitable location for a new library, and we're all aware that that's underway. We also talked about developing a commercial gravel pit. We undertook a study last year that determined we had substantial is
an understatement.
An understatement. That was the word I was looking for. Amount of gravel resources immediately north of the landfill, and we went through an RFP. We had 2 interested proponents, and I'm hopeful that next council meeting we will have a lease before council. We're just right down to the nuts and bolts of the finances right now, but I'm very hopeful that we'll have that in front of council for next council meeting, and that will obviously be one that we'll be recommending goes into this funded capital reserve. We also, council identified that we should pursue opportunities for leasing district-owned land for agriculture. We did complete an RFP that is closed. We've got 2 proponents. And staff, it's not a simple RFP, nor was it a simple review of the proposals. And so staff's got a fair amount more work to do on that. And I'm not certain when we'll get that before council. We also identified that we prepare the old RCMP site for sale. And council's very familiar that we've made a number of attempts at trying to achieve that. No, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
And so, and in fact, well, it's not thunder because it's a disappointment.
Go right
That,
ahead.
in fact, our third attempt at this collapsed last week. And so we will have to look, I think, with the new council in terms of where we want to go with that. The next key objective of council was to ensure resources remain focused on rebuilding, repairing, maintaining, and enhancing infrastructure. And a few of the key ones there. Eisentalk Dam, council recall, we had some leak problems up there. We spent a great deal of money in some really adverse weather conditions to try and repair that. Some repairs, they were successful, and we continue to monitor that. So we will continue to monitor that and keep council informed as the season changes. Also lately, there's council identified that we need to look at the Canyon View road slippage, which everyone's familiar with, and we've got a couple of recent correspondence on that. What we decided is that we didn't have adequate time, so we'll be asking council to fund an engineering review of that issue. It's not as simple. We don't know where that slip is, whether it's several hundred feet below the road surface, or whether it's local, and it really needs a proper detailed engineering study, or else we'll be just wasting money potentially. We also, one of our key objectives was to accumulate funding and commence the firefighter training facility. This council's been committed to that for, I think, 3 years in terms of accumulating funding. That's very important for our volunteers' safety, for the retention of volunteers, and for ensuring that Summerland remains with a high level of fire protection. And again, I'm 2 weeks, Glenn, are we going to be bringing that? Or yeah, so 2 weeks we'll be bringing a report asking for council to authorize that moving forward. A last thing that council under this category talked about was to expand the sewer collection area. Council is well aware that our sewer treatment plant, in fact, is running at about 50%, that reduced volume, in fact, creates more wear and tear in the plant than if it was full. And so council directed us to look at easing and creating opportunity for expanding the service area. And we've run into some real technical difficulties with that from an administrative perspective, but we are progressing, and we will be bringing that forward, but I can't give you an assurance of a date. No. The next objective was to ensure the district remains financially sound and rebuild surplus and reserves. So there's a continuing, this council is concerned about the economic viability of the corporation and the services it delivers, and that was really the focus of this. And so first of all, taxation levels remain affordable. So we had a 2% tax increase each of the last 2 years that I'm aware of, yes. And that's really less than inflation in terms of the services we deliver. And so I think council's done an awesome job there. Make a concerted effort to rebuild reserves, and that's where in January I came to council with a really difficult report that involved a number of layoffs and restructuring so that we could reduce operating costs to try and put money back into reserves and back into infrastructure. And we'll see the full benefit of that in 2015. One of those also is to pursue grants from senior levels of government with an emphasis on water separation in Garnet Valley. Council met with the Premier and 3 cabinet ministers in a separate meeting with another cabinet minister while we were at UBCM. I think 2 years we've done this and worked that, and I think judging by the Premier nodding her head and making fast notes and basically giving us a heads up as to the grant program before it was formally announced, that's good news. And Devin is hard at work in terms of putting that grant application together, and we'll have that in before I'm gone.
Way to go, Devin.
We also talked about developing an asset management plan, and I talked to council about that, and really we need to know where we're going to figure out what infrastructure we're going to go. But I guess with the emphasis that we heard at UBCM on asset management plans, we're going to have to jump that gun. And so I think there will be grant money available under Strategic Initiatives Gas Tax Fund. And so we need to jump on that opportunity in the next month or so as well. And we did hear from the Minister of Community Services, what I used to call municipal affairs for like 20 years, that there will be some information on their websites in our website in the next couple of months, where there's a model we're going to be able to use, and we have a lot of background infrastructure, so I think we'll be able to make some progress in that in the next 12 months. And also, council directed us to complete the water metering program, and you know, I mean, the public can't appreciate how complicated that was. I thought when I came here, you know,
easy.
Water meters, simple, and how very wrong I was. Yeah. You know, we have 4,000 or 5,000 customers, and we got 4,000 or 5,000 unique situations, and it's just unbelievably difficult. And that was I think, a real testament to the quality of the management team here, and including Jim, to sort that out as well as we've done. And you cannot make everybody happy, but boy, I think we've come as close to possible as trying to sort that out. And I hope we'll be as fortunate with our agricultural users next year.
We will be.
We talked about developing a parks and recreation plan, a cultural plan, and you know, I'm hopeful that the next council will see that as a priority, because I think it's a really important initiative for Summerland to update those documents, particularly given the way that Summerland delivers services. So I come from a bigger municipality wherein the municipality delivered all the services. In Summerland, Brenda works with a number of volunteer organizations. Council works with them through grant and aid, through tax relaxation, to deliver services that in a lot of places taxpayers pay directly. And it's much more effective and efficient to deliver it in this model. And I think Summerland really needs to make sure that we're looking after all those interests. And I think a cultural and a recreation plan will be critical next year. We've made progress in terms of electronic program registration for our rec programs. A new website. Jeremy guarantees me it'll be in a place by the end of the year, and I'm going to hold him to that. And I think another big advancement is our work with the Chamber of Commerce. I think the Chamber has proven themselves a very worthy partner and delivered, I think, excellent services. And I think Ian's done an excellent job in terms of fulfilling that liaison there. So that was really the council's goals and objectives, and I'm very pleased with our advancement with regard to that. And so now I'm just going to go through administration and corporate services, and you'll have to excuse me a bit on corporate services because that's supposed to be Jeremy, but he's wimping out tonight. So second period report, I'll point it there. Like I said, water bylaw is finalized, so we're very pleased with that. Second thing, just a lot of project management. So I guess, you know, as council's aware, you know, my involvement's kind of spread across the organization, so I'm a component of everything, and there's not a, you know, necessarily specifically, I shouldn't be claiming credit for specific projects, but sometimes I do, and we know that Karen produces an unreal amount of work. So it's basically her and I, the CAO's office, and I'm going to talk about Maureen and Jeremy and Leah shortly. But so project management, worked with a number of senior managers, Dawn in particular, regarding Lakeside Trail, liaising with the Ministry of Transportation and Highways, and just the whole interest of council as well in terms of how that came about. I'm hopeful that we'll hear more from the Ministry of Transportation and Highways, because we haven't heard since the announcement, really.
Oh, we can correct that.
We've had a couple of technical meetings, but not a pile of progress.
Okay, we can.
The gravel lease I talked about with council. I hope to have that before council in 2 weeks, and again, that's Dawn and I worked at that. The old RCMP site, Ian's worked on that diligently. Unfortunately, the bad news there. I did put the garage sale there because Maureen and Karen did this garage sale. It probably cost us like $500 to do the thing because we had to advertise and all that, and I think we made about $40 on it. But the key part is that to make sure that we dispose of our assets in a fair and equitable manner.
Okay, now you're just leaving out a couple of details. We're talking about the
old desks.
furniture that was inside the old RCMP, and we actually gave it, basically gave it away.
We tried to give it away to but nobody wanted it. That's
so we did offer it through a garage sale.
We put a lot of effort in and not a lot of output. And then the agricultural land use opportunities that I talked about with council. New council orientation. So this is it's supposed to be a report backwards, but it's my one plug for new council orientation. A letter went out to all candidates today that talks about new council orientation. You're suddenly going to be in charge of a $30 million a year operation with almost 100 employees that deliver a vast variety of services. And so I want to make sure that you have a good understanding or the best understanding possible of how local government works and how it goes. And so I've arranged a new council orientation for you. So November 26th, we're going to be in West Kelowna getting a Canadian renowned speaker on governance, and that will be shared with the District of West Kelowna.
Is that Leah?
George
Oh, George Kopp. Okay.
On December First, we'll do a workshop here in council chambers with administration. So myself and Mo and Jeremy will talk to you about how it works, how you get your mail and agendas and cutoffs and all that technical stuff. And we'll also have a municipal lawyer here to talk about your responsibilities, like your
Conflicts of interest.
yeah, and those things that you need to know to do your job. On December 8th, we'll have 2 workshops. Lori will take you through Municipal Finance 101, talk about how that works, and then Ian will take you through the tools you get to use when you're dealing with land use. December 9th, we have a speaker here to talk about effective meetings. It's Ellie Mina, and that's going to be here in council chambers. We'll have Peachland and West Kelowna Council here to participate in that. And on the 15th, wear your warm shoes, coats. Make sure you don't want anything. Don't wear white. I wore a white shirt one time to a tour of the sewer treatment plant. It was a big mistake. So make sure you dress warmly and safely, and we're going to take you through all the infrastructure that within a few weeks later you're going to be asked to spend, as I said, $30 million on. So I wanted to get that plug in and make sure people get those
Everybody
dates.
who's running, and there's several people in this room, should you be blessed to win a seat at this table, you need to be available those days. That's priority.
There's, as I said, a letters went out today, Mo, that you sent out for me.
Yes, got all those dates,
All
yes.
those dates and times
You
on it.
must be available.
It went in the mail today.
Very formal. It's a formal invitation. So the other thing that we do and can't take credit for, because Don Darling plays a big part in this, is our human relations and Karen as well. And so we've started negotiations with our IBEW union. We had an arbitration in the last quarter with IBEW. There's been a couple job postings. We hosted the health and safety breakfast, or no, actually the health and safety committee hosted the health and safety breakfast, and Devin's the chair of the health and safety committee. And also we continue with our HR corner, just a newsletter that we try and keep everybody in organizations that spread across the community in tune together. Communications to the community, again, an ongoing effort. Karen looks after that. And so newsletters, including the year-end kind of accomplishment, which I'd like to see go out every year so that the community gets an understanding of what's been achieved by council. Our mock water bills is a huge effort there. Again, Jim was a big part of that in terms of getting that database together and the readings and getting that out there. And also, we've done a new information package on the back of utility bills so people can understand that better. And Karen and council look after, or we organize a bunch of events with the mayor and Karen work hand in hand. So the car show, the ATV run, the Japanese student delegation. The presentations that Mayor Perino talked about tonight.
Got 3 this week.
And the visit with our Toyokoro sister city. I'm glad I missed that.
It was fun. It was fun.
Sure. And I talked about UBCM 2014. That actually is quite a bit of work from a staff perspective, trying to put the package together. And again, I could thank Devin and Glenn actually did a report for that too, so that we could inform ministers of what we were trying to achieve, and then council presenting that. And I think it makes a big difference in terms of the ministers understanding what Summerland's trying to achieve.
And the Summerland is the center of the universe. But
So corporate services, again, that's Jeremy, Mo, Gary, and Leah, right? And you can see bylaws, minutes, agendas, leases, notice ads, freedom of information requests. So the big news, of course, is everyone's got to remember to vote. If you can't make it on the 15th, the advanced voting days are the 5th and the 12th. And it's a bunch of work for Maureen. She does it in addition to all her other duties. It's not only what candidates see and the community sees, but she has to train all of those people who work, schedule them all, interview them to make sure that they work. So there's a pile of effort that goes into that that people don't see. And she's done an awesome job, and it's a really a pile of work to do that.
she answers tons of questions from candidates.
This year, Gary hosted the Provincial Bylaw Officers Conference here in Summerland, brought 94 officers in to spend their money in Summerland, or their taxpayers' money in Summerland. And apparently it was
Huge
excellently
success.
received.
Yeah, I was there. It was huge.
From Jeremy's perspective, we really, we think about the kind of, the things that council uses and all that, but all of our employees use computers. And so it's done huge work, upgrades at the water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plants. So there's our, the working foreman for the sewer treatment plant hard at work. And so that's been a big deal. Working with Glenn on the iPad implementation for the fire department. Finalized desktop and mobile designs on the new website. As I say, that should be out by the end of the year. And also worked with the school district in terms of fiber optic installation to Trout Creek School to improve service for the schools. Leases and agreements, that's, council's aware. The community maybe not so much. I think those who interact with us, some of our agreements and leases were sadly out of date, and there's been a huge amount of work by Jeremy, and Lori's been a part of that too, in terms of updating leases and rental agreements and where we're at. So we have a new service agreement with Summerland Chamber of Commerce that council's well aware of, given that they authorized it. And again, I talked about that good work that the chamber's doing. We concluded negotiations with the city of Penticton for joint use of their dog kennel, which is an excellent financial deal for us. Worked with School Board 67 to negotiate the school property for the new skateboard park, and a couple of council members went and talked to the school board about that. And Councillor Alquist has just asked me, just for your information, the RFP for design is out there right now, and so we'll see what happens with that. And as I said, reevaluation of all our municipal property leases. And Lori, you're up.
Any questions for Tom, Dave? No?
You know where to get me.
Well,
We know where to find you.
I just wanted to comment on
Councillor
the dog pound. We now house our prisoners in there, and we also house our dogs in there. So.
And both of them fiscally responsible decisions.
Are they?
Yes, very. Especially the prisoners. Very fiscally responsible.
Question that. But.
Chair, I do the numbers with you.
Lori Coates, Director of Finance. Great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the finance department at the District of Summerland has 6 people that work in it. So on my team, yes, myself, I have Manager of Financial Services is Renee Bellick, and then there are 4 clerks. So we have our accounting folks, I guess I should say. We have Paula, who does payroll, Lucy, who does utilities, Emma, who does accounts payable and accounts receivable and property taxes, and Jody's our front counter person, the cashier. So we welcomed back Lucy because she was away on maternity leave, and Sue Demers, who had retired from the district but came back to do her maternity leave coverage in a job that Sue'd done for, I'm not sure, 30-some odd years, has actually retired now. She says she won't come back again on a full-time job. So we say thanks to Sue and welcome Lucy back. A lot of the items that you're going to see in finance, Tom's already spoken to, as usual. But I think that just speaks to the fact that finance really is a customer service department for not only the citizens of the District of Summerland, but also for the rest of our corporate departments. So we work on a lot of projects jointly with all of the other members of the teams. So the water utilities bylaw and the update to the fees and charges has been completed, and I just would remind anyone who has metered water or has water that isn't metered to please get in touch with us. Jim, I know, is working with the Stratus still to resolve some of the metering issues, and I think we have heard from most folks, but if you're one of the few that hasn't contacted us yet, please do so as soon as possible. The second part of working on the change to metered water is having our software updated. So we've gone through the planning phase with Vadim, who is our iCity software provider, and they're going to go away and do some of their technical work now, and we're planning to move into a testing phase in November so that we're ready to go with those bills that will be like the information statements or the mock water bills that people have been receiving, so that water billing information will be part of the regular monthly billing starting with the January consumption. And we also worked with Karen Jones in the admin department on the development of a Welcome to Summerland sheet with our utility practices. So Summerland as a community, I think, has some practices that people who haven't lived here before may not be familiar with. And so in response to some feedback we got from new residents, we've developed a handout sheet that's going to give them information when they come to the community and are coming into the district and signing up for utilities. Oops, wrong way. So in this time frame, which is June to September, we definitely are focused on property taxes in the finance department. Back in our last report, we had information about how many tax notices we'd send out, and there's about 5,000 of them. So now we've finished our tax collection, and I can tell you that at this point in time, over 96% of the taxes have been paid. And just a reminder to everyone that the due date was in July, and so now there is a 10% penalty that's added to any unpaid amounts for 2014 taxes. And we also held the annual tax sale, which is a requirement of the community charter, and that was held on September the 29th, and we had 2 properties that went up for auction at that tax sale. And there is a 1-year redemption period on those properties before anything will change hands, and I'm pleased to say that the properties that were at the tax sale last year were redeemed by the owners, so there were no properties that changed hands last year in Summerland. In payroll, we have, in this time frame, just a couple of things that were going on for us. So summer students come on board, and there were 7 students that came to the district in this summertime period, so they've now left and gone back to school. And the last pay that we had 99 people that we paid, so when Tom said we had almost 100, he was bang on. And sort of the biggest change that's happening right now for payroll, which is Paula to work with, as well as Renee's been helping her on it, is that there's going to be a new benefits administration team. So the District of Summerland is part of an employer group, the Southern Interior Municipal Employers Association, SIMIA, and through that group, benefits are administered for all of the employees of the district. So the employees are not going to see a change, but there's a lot of administrative work that goes on behind the scenes whenever you have that kind of a change. And so January 1st, we're going to have a new company providing us with that administration, and it's a very detailed review to go through. The reason Summerland's part of that group is that there are 6 employers banded together to find the very best provision of benefit services. Financial reporting. So in this part, we have the work that Emma helps out with, as well as Renee and I work a lot on financial reporting. So we had completed our annual reporting requirements for our financial statements, our local government reporting forms, our SOFI information, and of course reporting on the grants we received for gas tax funds. So all of our reporting that was required is ticked off and has been completed from the 2013 financial year. We just in the last few weeks sent out budget workbooks to all the departments to start work on the 2015 budget. So that's busily happening behind the scenes right now. And one of the new requirements from the accounting world that we're going to have to comply with for this 2014 year is identifying any of the land that the District of Summerland owns that isn't being used for its original purpose. So what that means is, if it's a park, is it being used as a park, or if it's a road allowance, is it being used as a road allowance? So we have an inventory of all that land, and we've gone through it, and we're trying to determine if any of it may have had a use that would have contaminated it for environmental purposes at any point in time. So Councillor Hallquist helped us with an initial review. I also got some information from Dave Hill, who was a longtime employee here, and we're working our way through that. So just another technical piece that's happening behind the scenes, getting ready for year end.
Well, Councillor Hallquist did say he's been here for a couple of years.
Just a few. I would like also to thank Ian, because he put together that inventory that we worked from, so thank you very much. It gave us a good starting point. So just a wrap up then of the things that have been ongoing in the finance department. So on the agenda tonight is for council to select a successful auditor for the district. There was a review of proposals that happened in the last little while. As I said, the finance department, participates in all of the work that Tom's already spoken to as happening across the whole organization, and we all help with as part of the management team. We did have a consultant come in and do a review of the HST and GST for the past 4 years, items that the district had filed through their returns, and he was able to find us more than $12,000 in amounts that should have been claimed back and weren't. So that was a good review for the district, and we ended up a little richer for it. They work on a consulting basis or a contingency basis. So they come in and charge you a percentage of whatever they find. And the $12,000 was the net to the district. And Tom mentioned the sewer, expansion of the sewer area. We continue to work with our lawyers to find our way through those technical issues. And of course, policy review is always ongoing, and a few key items that we hope to find some time to work on with the new council, which will be purchasing, reserve and surplus levels, and debt management policies. And that's my report. Thank you.
Good. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much, Laurie. That's terrific. We'll go on then to Development Services, Ian McIntosh.
Thank you, Your Worship. You're going to see again a few of the things you've seen already before,
That's all
which
right.
I think is a testament to how well we work together as a team with Tom at the helm. So, starting out, the council's goals and objectives. One of them was to work with the Okanagan Regional Library to find a suitable library site. So we did find them a site. We aided in the site assembly with the clerk's office, which is very complicated, closing roads and consolidating lots. We participated in the design charrette that was held downtown. We've issued them a development permit, and they now have a foundation permit, and they're out building a new library.
Okay.
So we're pretty happy with that.
I hope you're sending pictures to Julie McGuire.
She does email me regularly.
Good, good.
So with respect to the RCMP site, again, another one of council's goals and objectives, we did bring the OCP and rezoning application to council. We created the new pocket neighborhood zone, which we still think has merit in Summerland. We were continuing to negotiate with the developer, but as Tom mentioned, that deal collapsed on Thursday last week. So we'll be back to council in the next little while with Plan B.
C.
Plan C, I guess that is right now. So another one of council's goals and objectives was developing Summerland's first cultural plan. We didn't get to that this year. We have it in the budget for next year. However, council did create the new Community Cultural Advocacy Committee, and we've had our first 2 meetings now, and the team is very excited to move forward with some initiatives for next year. Beyond council's goals and objectives, our building department processed 56 building permits in the second period for a total of $5.7 million. That is up $2 million from the same period last year, although about the same number of permits, and quite a bit more permits from the 45 that we processed in the first period. And as well as processing all of those, our staff attended the BC Building Code Regs and Energy Standards seminar, and the building code is changing yet again. Attended the BOABC Spring Conference, which is where all the building inspectors get together, and they also participated in the design charrette for the library. And our planning division, we processed 29 applications in the second period of 2014, and that is almost triple what we had in the second period of 2013. So there is a lot more interest in the planning world at the moment, and that's double what we did in the first period. And 2 significant developments that we processed during that period were the Dale Avenue rezoning in Trout Creek, as well as the Hunters Hill application that was on the docket for tonight. We also created the RSD1I zone, which is a new zone for infill properties, and rezoned our first property on Sinclair. We also collaborated on the finalization of the water meter rates bylaw. We participated in the Transit Future Plan Working Group that is bringing transit up and down the valley. We attended an Agricultural Land Commission meeting to discuss the new regulations for the ALR with the Zone 1 and Zone 2 and put our input into that working group. And as I said, we processed those 2 major land developments. On the economic development front, we did finish in this period the installation of the directional highway signage and created a policy on messaging. And that is rotating through as you drive through Summerland now, and I enjoy seeing that every time I go either to Penticton or north to Kelowna. We also had a very interesting seminar on opportunity development co-ops. We brought in Paul Sabai from Alberta to speak about that. I've had a lot of interest in the office since that, and I think that that's going to come up and be a lot more interesting in 2015. And as well, we completed the first draft of the Bottleneck Drive signage program, which we dealt with the Bottleneck Drive folks, Len Fillick and Julian Schofield on that. And we have a comprehensive document that we're going to be bringing to council in due course.
Excellent.
And that is my report.
Excellent. Questions? Oh, there you go. Councillor Hacking and Councillor Hallquist.
Sorry, just a quick one, Ian. So with the Bottleneck Drive, this is essentially a third-party sign. Do you think it's a good model going forward for other community signage programs in involvement with third parties?
I think that's an excellent signage, and what we said in our new sign bylaw is the only third-party signage that is allowed in the district is one that is sanctioned as a district program. Where there's a group that can't do third-party signage on their own, it would be unmanageable. So if there's a group that wants to get together, like Bottleneck Drive has done, then we come up with a program, and I think it's worked extremely well.
You must have been reading my mind last week, because I was thinking about this, so glad to see it.
Okay, Councillor Hallquist.
So out of the 56 building permits that you issued, how many of them would be for new single-family homes?
I don't have that information. I would think about a third is my guess.
A third of them?
I would think, but I'll have to look at that.
I'd like you to do that.
I will do that.
Thank you.
What would the others be?
Oh, there's renovations, there's some commercial work, there's accessory buildings, all kinds of, a myriad of things.
Okay. Councillor Robson?
Could you give us a version of what Paul Kabjab?
Sabai?
Sabai, okay.
Yes, what has happened across the country, started in Nova Scotia and is into Alberta now, and they're trying to move into BC, is a program whereby smaller communities can take some of their RRSP investment money and put that toward local projects, become involved as developers in a co-op environment so that they can fund local business that may not get bank funding for a myriad of reasons. They're local people that they know in business ideas that they support, and they can fund those local people with their own dollars, can fund them in either a debt position or an equity position or any combination of both, and they've been extremely successful in Nova Scotia and Alberta. So that's an economic development piece for rural communities that we think has great merit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you very much, Ian McIntosh. Glen Noble Fire Department, thank you so much. Our flag chief.
Nobody messed with my slide this time. So that's nice to see.
It's beautiful.
Thank you, Your Worship. This period, it says June to September, but because of our internal reporting, the statistics relate May through August, because our internal reports are for every 4 months. So some of our stats don't compile with or aren't in line with what the front slide's saying.
Okay.
So,
Okay, good to know.
So under the operations section, 102 incidents for that 4-month period compared to 112 in 2013, so down slightly, and year-to-date 177 total incidents. So that's in line with last year. Slight reduction, and we'll talk about that in a second. 252 fire and life safety inspections conducted, and some of those inspections are in conjunction with Robert from Ian's department on building inspections as well. 27 public education events were conducted. That includes fire alarm tests, public education with youth groups, especially in the summer. We get the SADI groups in and things like that. So that's a pretty high number for that 4-month period, especially through the summer.
Sparky was very popular at the
Sparky is always, Sparky's always the most popular firefighter.
He was.
He is, yes. That's a breakdown of our incidents for that 4-month period. It's hard to see there, but the big ones are fire alarms, all types, whether they're residential, industrial, commercial. MVAs, as Corporal Haley was speaking to earlier, incredible amount of MVAs this year, and in places you wouldn't expect it on the 4-lane highway, in good road conditions. So I have my theories, but we'll leave that up to the RCMP to determine the causes, but I think there's a lot of distracted driving out there. But grass fires, we had 12, knock on wood. We had a very safe and successful summer compared to some of our neighbors who saw some significant fires. For whatever reason, we were lucky again and got through it unscathed. And then minor other issues, dollar loss value, fires at 8, and again, we don't do medical response, so that number is very low at 1. For training, there's one of our just finished probationary firefighters, Trevor Austin. We had 101 training sessions during this period, 293 hours of fire training conducted, and those are basically on Wednesday nights and Saturdays and Sundays. So those numbers are the auxiliary guys coming in and spending the time in the department and getting the training. And when you look at our regular scheduled Wednesday nights, the attendance average is 84.96% for that period, which is astonishing. It's a great training turnout. And the other thing that's really impressive on that list is in that 4-month period, 62 individual certifications were obtained. So, this goes back to what the CAO was talking about and our desire to build on our training with the training center. And with the support we've had from council, we're looking forward to that moving forward.
That's in the orientation, right, for the new council? So they'll know all about that?
Yes, but there will be a full report coming to council in 2 weeks asking for council's approval. We've got budget and a plan, and we think we saved a bunch of money last week too on it. So
we're hoping, yeah, it sounds good. So.
Excellent, excellent.
Of that, and as you recall, the last time I was here, there was a special slide on the screen with the certifications. So it brought about a need for swift water training for our firefighters. So 23.
Is that to do with horses or anything like that?
Yeah, that's to do with horses, yes. So 23 of them received swift water awareness training, and 4 were actually certified to technician level 2.
Excellent.
So a really good job by the guys. Our 4 recruits finished their probationary and completed their JIBC basic training. 9 first aid recerts. 8 of our members went to live fire training, and we do that in Vernon. And that's a picture of the guys up in Vernon at live fire. 2 incident command levels, 1 chlorine response, and 1 SCBA fit testing certification. And Ryan McDonald completed the Justice Institute of British Columbia Firefighter Level 2 program on his own money and his own time, and the 6-month program. And so that's a 1 certification with 9 sub-certifications. So really good on Ryan. And then where we are with our auxiliary force, we now have 24 active, 3 vacant, and 1 LOL, or leave of absence, not LOL, but leave of absence. And actually, Captain Minty's sitting back here, so for whatever reason, he's here tonight. So thanks to Murph for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Mike Fetter has been promoted to rank of lieutenant.
Murph is here for what reason? Just tell
I don't
me.
know. He's just here to watch council.
Well, I just thought it was to rave about your work and what's happening.
I
Right,
don't
Murph?
think that's the case.
Come on.
Yeah, so, but one thing we're really proud of, well, Mike being promoted to rank lieutenant. Mike, I think many of you know Mike, and he's a really smart guy, and he's well deserved in that role. So
Well done.
he's a great leader, and we're glad to have him.
Great.
And another thing we're really proud of is Phil Marischuk, and I know the CAO talked about that a couple weeks ago. But Phil was with us for 9 years, and he's now obtained a career position with Lethbridge Fire. And he joins his brother there, who's also with Lethbridge Fire. So
Might have had a lot to do with your leadership.
so we don't know about that, but we're really proud of Phil, and we're glad he's there. So it's good for him. And Tim Truman, who's a great guy, he was with us for a year, and he's left the service to pursue a career in Fort Nelson. So we're happy for Tim as well.
Good.
And our auxiliary response, so this is somewhat of a concern we're having, but our daytime response, we're averaging 10 members, which is about 37% of our force, which is a good number for daytime response. So when we talk daytime response, it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that's a fairly good number, and that's pretty consistent. It's actually up from our 6-year average. But on the other side, our first truck out the door has dropped. It's taking us longer to get that first truck out the door. And, I got to look into the reasons behind that. But, You know, our 6-year average was 6 minutes and 29 seconds. We're up to now 7 minutes and 10 seconds. So that impacts some of the things Ian's trying to do in development zones and that too, because the building code addresses those 10-minute response zones, right? So it's something we need to try and figure out why it's taking us longer. And in conjunction with that, now our average first engine on scene is 12 minutes and 31 seconds compared to our 6-year average of about 11 minutes. So again, it goes hand in hand. It's taking us longer to get out the door. It's taking us longer to get to the scene on average. So things we need to review. And emergency preparedness, that's a picture of John Topham and his emergency social services team, or support services team as they're called now. And they're a big benefit to the community, and I don't think a lot of people know that they exist, and we're lucky to have them. And their role is to support people for 72 hours if they're evacuated for any given reason, whether it be wildfire or flooding or whatever can happen. So they had a booth at the Fall Fair, and the focus was on the 72 hours preparedness, and they distributed over 100 brochures on 72-hour preparedness to the citizens of Summerland, so that was really good. Excuse me, really good. And at a staff level, we held a tabletop exercise on June 17th and went over our preparation for the wildfire season that never impacted us. So all in all, that's, yeah.
But they certainly were there when Peachland had trouble. This whole crew was there.
No,
Amazing.
and John deserves a lot of credit for building that team and
Yeah,
getting
well
them
done.
to where they are. So,
That's for sure.
and that's the end of my report.
Thank you so much. Questions?
Just a quick comment.
Councillor Hallquist.
Having been a volunteer, paid on-call firefighter for a few years in Summerland.
30 plus?
It's a big commitment, you know, with younger people and their families and so on. And you can see with the number of training hours, and it's not just fire calls, it's training hours and so on that go into all this. I think they deserve a great big thank you for serving our community so well.
Here. You're here.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
And Merv.
Yes. Merv, you're here to take that back, okay? Yeah, good.
And your
And just hold on, hold on. Anything else, Councillor Hallquist?
No, it's good.
Okay, Councillor Robson and then Councillor Van Elfen.
We talked this morning a little bit about the dangers that our staff go through working in the community and the different areas that they work in. The electrical department, the public works department, the volunteer firemen and the firemen. You know, we don't realize as a community the dangers that they are subjected to in their daily work. And I think it's important that we recognize that fact too. And it comes down to, you know, what we pay for this volunteer work and what we gain from this volunteer work and what we gain from our employees. I had a parent come to me the other day and say, you know, my son works in the public works and he's down in holes, he's subjected to high pressure water lines, he's involved in natural gas areas. So there's a lot of things that happen in the community that general public don't have the knowledge that our employees are subjected to.
Well said. Well said. Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to emphasize also on the 24 active volunteers. We are so fortunate in this community to have such an incredible volunteer force with our fire hall. I'm looking forward to seeing the report on the training facility. I think it'll be a huge help to our volunteers, you know, to help educate them and train them, and I could see that there might be a little revenue resource or opportunity down the road. We might be able to rent out that facility to other smaller communities. But we're very fortunate here with our fire department, and not just the great people we have, like the volunteers, but also it's excellent for our taxpayers, having a volunteer situation.
Well said. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Nice to see you in that uniform too. It's good to. Brenda Ingram is, of course, in our Parks and Recreation. I was going to say planning. I'm sorry, Parks and Recreation.
That's
so
okay.
good to have you here, Brenda.
I've been helping Ian too. Yeah.
It's just
Anyways,
great.
good
Go
evening,
ahead.
everyone.
This is my report for June through until September, recreation.
Got to be the busiest season of the year for you, right?
Busiest time for us. And of course, our first big event is Giants Head Run. And this is just gives you a little snapshot picture there of how many people participated in our run. Numbers are up, 652 individual competitors. 544 are running 5K, 108 are running 10. And to me, the most important is 261 of those competitors are under the age of 19. It's a great family event. Lots of families are participating. This is the 32nd year that we've been running. Yes, and those are two of our students that we had this summer working for day camp, and they did switch sides once the race started. So we put that in just to see if people were paying attention to my pictures. Also, at the same time that we're doing the Giants Head Run, same day, same hours as the Man of Steel Triathlon. Again, great family event. We have 124 athletes that take part in that. 31 individual competitors, and then a few years ago what we did is we changed it to team events, so it was a little bit more manageable for people to participate, and again 80 of those are under the age of 19. Again, some great family pictures. This is at the swim, dads hugging, go mom, posters up. And then the bottom picture is at our awards ceremony in Memorial Park, which basically we take over Memorial Park for our awards. Our volunteers, takes us 100+ volunteers to put together this event. And you'll recognize some faces in there of staff members, spouses of staff, and then of course the 3 guys are our spouses, and they're committed for the entire weekend. They work too. So also, we get great help from the fire department, the RCMP, and the ambulance. They're there for us all day too. And I have to just kind of plug for Glenn. It's Mike Federer and Phil Merschuk that really help us out with the fire department on that day. They're working
Good.
also.
Thank you.
Action Festival Committee, I've been a director on the Action Festival Committee now for 26 years. We have 16 people that work on this committee. It's the largest festival that this community does. And these people work really hard. We start meetings in the fall right through to planning of June. This year we saw the return of West Coast Amusements. They had taken 7 years. It took us to get them to come back, and it was all to do with the scheduling. Most of these carnival companies come off of the island, or they want to link them in with other festivals that are happening in the community. So we did have them back last year. And again, we had 72 teams in our slow pitch tournament. And I travel to a lot of slow pitch tournaments, and ours is well known, and they can't believe a community like Summerland can collect 72 teams on a weekend, and it's not a long weekend. So mark June 5th to the 7th next year. That's Action Festival 2015. At the arena, and you would think the arena maybe becomes a quiet place during the summertime, but what happens is we take the ice out right after Easter to accommodate grad happens in there. We do the cadet inspection. We put ice back in mid-July, and this year we hosted 4 full facility week-long hockey tournaments. And what that means is the kids that are in those hockey tournaments are sleeping in the curling rink. They're using the banquet room as a cafeteria, and dry land sessions are happening up on the concourse, and then of course the ice. So kids come and they stay for a week in our facility, and we're one of the few facilities that have all of that opportunity for hockey schools. So that's great for us. We also had 3 Okanagan Valley Prep camps, and then of course we had the STEAM tryouts happening just at the end of August. Also during the summer, we partner with the Youth Center Association, and this is to provide the day camp programs. This is 8 weeks of programming for 6 to 12-year-olds. We employ students, and what I do is I sit on the Youth Center Association board and help them hire their staff and implement that program. And then Recreation Department helps them with their registration so that people have a place to come and register. Peach Orchard Park was a busy place with the Arts Council music festivals. Also, use of the gazebo was used for the Sister City barbecue. Dale Meadows this year, the Dale Meadows complex hosted some really big ball tournaments through July and August. And what we're finding is people from Penticton are coming up to use our facilities and offering valley-wide tournaments. So great complex that we have the opportunity to provide this kind of opportunities. July 13th, the Grand Fonio is one of my favorite events because we don't do a lot for that event. We put 1,000 people through our back roads. And I really don't think we can pay for that kind of advertising. Those people are traveling through, looking at, different kinds of opportunities that are here in Summerland. That some of them stop at Memorial Park for the one and only aid station, some just travel right through. But I mean, this is an awesome event that happens in Summerland. The Tri-Power is our local triathlon club, and this year is the first year that they did an open swim camp down at Powell Beach, and then they also did a triathlon in the Powell Beach area, and that's the first time that we've used that park for those kinds of events. In July and August, we partnered with the Canadian Cancer Society, and they did a Tanning's Out awareness program. Yeah, I'm a bad example, but they provided all kinds of umbrellas and what is that stuff you're supposed to use? The cream. Yeah, they were there all during the summer on different weekends and just giving out information for the public. They were very happy, want to partner with us again next year. The farmers market continues to grow and grow. And just one thing we want to note there is they're very happy to be on Kelly Avenue, to be on the pavement. And I know it was a bit of an adjustment moving them off of the grass and onto the pavement, but as you can see, further into that picture, there is somebody in there walking with a walker, and that was really difficult for them when we had them in Memorial Park. So we do really like to have them on Kelly Avenue there. And then as we look forward, our fall brochure came out on August the 12th, and that is for all of our programs that started in mid-September. We started registration on August the 12th, and even with the delay of school starting right at the beginning of September, of course, swim club was really busy. Swimming lessons started on time and things like that. And of course, also very successful fall fair happened in the curling rink and on the grounds of the arena. And that's my report.
I just have one quick question for you. The farmers market that was happening on Friday night, they did approach me about some concerns that they have, just the lack of business and should they be open and that kind of thing. And I said, think about it, take your time, and come and we'll talk about it at a later date. So it certainly will be something you'll probably address for next summer. Great idea, but it just hasn't quite caught on. Yeah, it's really tough. Questions, Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you, Worship. Has there been any interest at all with the Tuesday market moving to maybe a Friday night market on Main Street? So more.
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
I realize that, Your Worship, but I mean, unfortunately, the Tuesday market, a lot of working people can't attend that market. It would be really nice to see if they would consider the move. The other thing if I may just comment, I spend way too much time at the arena. I don't have kids in hockey, but I have 2 billets that are in hockey, and my hat's off to how old would that arena be, Bruce?
Well, it's 30 years.
Mid-70s.
Yeah, it's 76 was the first time the first scoreboard was put up.
It's just amazing the shape that arena's in and what the staff do with that facility. And we had guests, one of the billets' parents were down from Whitehorse on the weekend, and they were just amazed. They've been to arenas all over with their kids playing hockey, and they just complimented on how nice it was. So
we were really lucky when that arena was built, the design with a big lobby like it has, that concourse area. So that 1976 when it opened, the same time as the Aquatic Center, there were some really forward-thinking people, for sure.
Yeah, really, really good. The new scoreboard readers. Councillor Christopherson?
I just want to give a special bouquet to you and your department. They're the most visible in the community. When you come in town from either entrance, the flower display is awesome, and you got a fantastic crew there, and I don't know how you can manage to get so many excellent students to work in the summer.
Well, all those students are coming from those excellent families that live in Summerland, because those are all university students, and they are all Summerland kids, for sure.
Yeah. Good job. Okay, any other comments? Thank you, Brenda. Well done. Okay, and the biggest, the most expensive, works in utilities department, Devin. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for staying. And
thank you, Your Worship.
thank you.
So, June to September 2014. Landscaping crew has improved the maintenance significantly and improved the overall appearance of the Canyon View Cemetery. Recently, they built an information kiosk structure. They're still working on the panels for locations of the maps and reference index, which will be done shortly.
Good.
We're also working with Parks and Recreation to develop a standardized donation policy for landscape features and benches and whatnot. So.
Good.
Safety has been improved at Prairie Valley Road near the Tim Hortons. Dual solar flashing lights have been installed with push button controls. As well, a continual flashing light around the corner just west of that crosswalk has been installed to warn motorists in advance of reaching the crosswalk. Because of the benefits, the safety benefits, we have submitted an application to ICBC for a grant.
Good.
As
Is that
well,
to cover the
landscape-
cost? Is that to cover the
Sorry?
cost of what you've already
It
done?
is to cover the cost
Good.
of those beacons.
Good,
yeah.
thank you.
Landscape crews are also, as you've seen, reducing the vegetation height near the crosswalks in the medians and in the boulevards in order to increase visibility. So upgrades to Prairie Valley Road, again to improve pedestrian safety. A 2-meter wide pathway was created with concrete no-post barriers to delineate traffic. Closing dark road access to Prairie Valley, and also changing the traffic pattern to improve the intersection at Cartwright and Prairie Valley Road. The annual sidewalk program continues to decrease liability and improve pedestrian safety. Areas like this, as shown, reducing trip hazards and reducing the water encroaching to the sidewalk itself and to outdoor seating facilities. Repairs also for Jubilee Road sidewalk from Kelly to Rosedale between the schools is currently awaiting funding approval from MIA. And the sidewalk on Jubilee Road between Dixon and Victoria has, well, it's been awarded, is now underway, as you see.
Yeah, good.
So it'll be done before too long.
Be really nice for the seniors that are in that area that.
Make that tie.
Yeah.
The hydraulic cylinder at the balancing reservoir leaked oil this summer. This cylinder is one of two that operates the slide gates in this reservoir. Fortunately, a year or so prior, staff had changed the oil to a food-grade oil, and discussions with an industrial chemist actually and IHA. The suggestion was that the oil was benign and there were no risks to our system.
Good.
Staff did clean up the oil regardless and quickly had the cylinder rebuilt as a temporary solution, and we will be bringing a long-term solution forward for budget consideration. Water meters. So about 280 letters were sent out to residents that have two services. Approximately 60% responded. Half of them wanting to continue use of their second service, and the other half wanting to have them removed. Residents keeping this second service will be billed $35.82 per month starting in January. This cost represents a base fee amount of $26.67 and a monthly charge of $9.15 for unmetered water use. Residents, of course, may discontinue this second service at any time. We have approximately 430 hydrants in the system. We usually install an additional 5 hydrants annually. We rebuild the hydrants on a 7-year rotating program, and all the hydrants are flushed and inspected annually. With provincial and federal regulations as they are in place now, we've started our sampling and testing of transformers throughout the system. In 2014, we sampled and tested 230 transformers. Approximately 60 of these transformers were found to contain PCBs at some level, and will, due to that, have to be disposed of.
Wow.
There are approximately 850 transformers that remain to be tested in the system at a cost of approximately $150,000. And the removal, disposal, and replacement of these transformers will be an additional cost over and above. So, and these transformers with PCBs in them are required to be out of the system by 2025.
More than a 2% tax increase if you just did it on taxes.
Yeah, significant.
Thank you.
Substation remote monitoring, new controls, wireless communications, computer software were installed. This allows staff to remotely monitor both Trout Creek and Prairie Valley substations from the office, and in the future from their vehicles. Other work that we've been doing, irrigation meter installations, rebuilding of the UV disinfection system in the wastewater treatment plant, planting some trees in our new tree farm behind the wastewater treatment plant.
Good, good.
And the building of a compound roof structure in Dale Meadows for the landscaping crew for storage. Preparation of an RFP for the skate park, Jubilee Road design tender and award, the landfill operation review, the review and updates to works and utilities policies. As you see there in the photo, an outhouse installation in the Trans-Canada Trail, geotechnical assessment of Garnet Valley Dam, and the continued monitoring of the leak at the Eisenthal Dam. And so we don't leave you with an image of an outhouse to end our presentation. This came in as part of the Prairie Valley Road construction. A resident or a family came forward and requested that we leave a tree that was in district property and slated for removal for the project to continue. And after looking at all the options and reviewing the situation, it was decided to work around this tree, at least for the time being.
Good.
And allow these owls to, as they have now, come back to this tree. And this is a letter to Senior Tech Brent Voss,
Wow.
thanking him for his efforts in making this possible.
Excellent, excellent.
We do get those letters every now and again.
It just makes the job all worthwhile,
That's
eh?
right.
Yeah, beautiful. The work that's being done on Prairie Valley with the sidewalk, is it, I was away last week, where is it at now? Is it?
They are currently milling
Okay.
some of the asphalt there, so they're getting very close to completion.
Okay, good. Councillor Hallquist.
So what's happening with the triangle up there that we've closed off on Dark Road? Are we gonna zero skate that, or what's happening?
I don't know that there's been a decision made as to what will go in that location. I think landscaping makes some sense. There isn't irrigation there
No,
currently,
exactly.
so yeah, xeriscaping or something
Okay,
similar
thank you.
makes sense.
Okay. Councillor Robson?
A couple of things. The no posts on the sidewalk on Prairie Valley that kind of restrict some of the driveways there. Is that being addressed? Because I've had some concerns raised.
I guess personally, I haven't heard complaints to that. You know, if there are issues with the restriction at the driveways, I'm sure that we can make provisions to widen them slightly if required.
Yeah.
But I know they were quite generous in the space that they gave most residents to access their properties.
Okay, I didn't know what the dimensions were, but just
Okay.
some concerns. The other thing is the RV dumping station at Trout Creek.
Yes.
Councillor Hallquist and I drove by there yesterday. There was a significant lineup being present, using it. Are we holding our own on the costs there, or maybe Lori can better respond to that? I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know that we've looked at it as the year ends, but we sort of anticipated that the use would drop off towards this time of year.
Of course,
But
yeah.
as you're seeing it, it's
Yeah.
maybe not.
I don't have any information tonight, Your Worship, but we could certainly put together a report.
It's just great to know. Good. Okay. Any other questions? Devin Vandermeulen. Am I saying that right? Vandermeulen, right? Vandermeulen?
Yep.
Thank you so much. Excellent presentation. Well done. And I really appreciate that you ended with the owl. That was good. Okay. Now, you know, for the public, we still have a fair amount of work to do. We're going to get it done tonight, but I'm going to ask that council. I know that you're anxious to get home, but let's take our time, make sure that we do this as efficiently as we always do. So let's move on to Development Services reports. The first one is 8.1, and this is a variance permit, and I'll ask Ian McIntosh, our Director of Development Services, to take us through this. Thank you so much to the staff. Thank you. You were there for that, Murph. Thank you so much to the staff.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a development variance permit to allow an expansion of an existing accessory structure on a lot 8304 Jubilee Road. It's 0.4 acres, and it's located at the corner of Jubilee Road East and Highway 97. There's 3 variances that are applicable here or being requested. The zoning bylaw doesn't allow any accessory building to be located in an exterior side yard, so that regulation is requested to be varied. They wish to reduce the exterior side yard setback for an accessory building from 4.5 meters to 1 meter, which is 15 feet to about 3 feet. And we do have another section in the zoning bylaw that says you can't have anything within 15 meters of Highway 97. So in this particular case, you can see that the house predates the regulation because the 15-meter setback goes partially through the house, and the accessory building is almost entirely located within the setback area. In this particular case, the property is about 5 meters or 16 feet above Highway 97, and the structure is located approximately 11 meters or 36 feet from the edge of the highway. So in this particular case, they're asking to add 48 square meters to an existing accessory structure. There's images of it, what it's proposed to look like. In this particular case, there does not appear to be a safety hazard as the lot is quite a bit higher than the highway. The existing accessory structure is already there, and to add a bit more didn't seem unreasonable, and the application is supported by staff.
Okay. This is a development variance. We do allow the public to speak on the issue. Should there be any questions from council to start with? Okay. Questions? Councillor Hackey.
What was the size of the
48 square meters is the addition, which is about 500 square feet.
Thank you. Ministry of Transportation was contacted, and they do not have any concerns with the variance?
That is correct.
Okay. Anything else on questions? All right, I'm going to call on the public. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue? This is a development permit, and if you'd like, you can speak to this if this is your home or you have a concern about it, if you feel it affects your property. For a second time, is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue? Okay, and for a third and final time, is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue? Okay, seeing that no one has come forward, we'll bring it back to the table. Councillor Robson.
I'd like to move the motion.
Please.
That a development variant permit for lot number 4, DL 473 ODYD Plan 34569, located at 8304 Jubilee Road East, be granted for the structure shown on Schedule B to vary Section 4.5.4 of zoning bylaw 2000-450 to allow an accessory building to be located in an exterior side yard. Section 10.46.6B sub 4 to reduce the exterior side yard setback for an accessory building from 4.5 meters to 1 meter. Section 4.7.1 to reduce the minimum distance of a building or structure from a property line abutting Highway 97 from 15 meters to 1 meter.
Seconder? Thank you. Comments? Councillor Waterman.
Really nothing more than the fact that I guess this certainly wouldn't be presented as a recommendation by the planning department if we didn't have the elevation change between the road and the property, I would imagine.
That would certainly be a different consideration for sure.
Because I don't see a problem with there's such a considerable difference in elevation, and it's not a safety issue with the highway, so.
Yes.
But if it's, certainly would be a problem if there wasn't that elevation problem.
That's right, that's right.
Differential.
I think it'll be a real addition to this area because it's just, you see it right from the highway, and it does need,
It's not that so much, it's the fact that it's a variance and that, we can allow it because of the elevation difference. It's
definitely.
not a safety issue, as far as what they want to do.
Oh, I agree. I just think it's going to be a nice addition to how it looks already. Okay, anything else? Any other comments? Okay, we'll call the question then. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. 8.2, which is, again, a development variance for permit for Tate Street. If you'd like to give us some background, Ian, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is a development variance permit for a property at 2107 Tate Street, which is the location in Trout Creek of the Summerland Motel. And the variance request is for two provisions of our sign bylaw. One, they want to reduce the setback, a minimum setback for a freestanding sign from 1 meter to 0 meters for two signs that are proposed to be located, one at the extreme north end of the property and the other at the extreme south end of the property. And the second variance is a variance to section 3.1G of the sign bylaw, which prohibits neon signs. And there are two components to this variance. The first is a siting issue. And the proposed variance in this particular case is due mostly to the fact that the property is fully developed and there's very little opportunity to locate the signs at the 1 meter setback. There is quite a separation from the highway to the property line, and to reduce the setback from 1 meter to 0 meters in this circumstance is quite supportable. The second variance is with respect to neon. And neon as a sign medium has not been allowed in Summerland sign bylaw ever before. When we redid our sign bylaw recently and went through a number of public hearings and surveys, et cetera, that prohibition was relaxed to allow neon within window signs, but there was no other relaxation. In this particular case, it is proposed to be a green neon sign on green aluminum on a 10 by 10 foot sign area on a pylon or a freestanding sign. The letters range between 1 foot and 4 feet in height. And in this particular case, the sign bylaw was only passed in June with a significant amount of public input, and staff are unable to support the variance to use neon in this case.
Okay, questions of council? Anything before we go to the public? This is a development variance. Okay. All right. All right. If there are no questions, then I'm going to call on the public. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue? Yes, please. We just need your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Wanda Rogers, 6212 Willow Avenue.
Yes.
My concern is safety, to see at the far end of Tate Street, the sign there, as you're pulling out, I want to be able to see what's coming from that traffic, because I've had near accidents at that corner. And according to this sign, it's supposed to be 24 feet tall, sign's 10, and then I'm not sure how much is here for feet, but if a truck is backed up to there, which it would be, I won't have any visibility at all between that sign. The issue for me is he's already pushed his boundaries, so out on the highway side of his property, he's grown shrubs, trees, and they're blocking the visibility. The Minister of Highways were just contacted, and he did cut down some of the bush there, which did help. But all this to me is visibility and safety, and I think that should be concerned.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Please. And your name and address for the audience. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of the council. My name is John Lathy. I live at 5008 Nixon Road in Summerland.
Thank you.
And my wife and I have owned and operated Summerland Motel for 11 years. The background to this is that we've had some testing times regarding signage this summer, in as much as a truck decided to totally demolish our sign that was there before, and a kindly vandal about 6 weeks ago decided to
Saw that.
do the business on the other one. So presented with this somewhat expensive opportunity, we thought we'd think through what we wanted. Regarding the lady's comments, the dimensions of the sign are in line with the bylaw. The only thing that isn't is the neon problem. And I would like to put your minds at rest. We are in no way trying to turn Trout Creek into the Golden Nugget or anything like that. All it is it's piped glass neon, the same as the sign we had before. And it says Summerland Motel. And it actually is far less light emitting than those enormous corporate billboard type signs, which we are allowed to have, but we don't want, which is backed up with fluorescent tubes. So we think it's in good taste, and it's in keeping with the newer portion of the architectural type of building we've built already. And if we are having to put up signs, we'd like it to be in keeping with that, rather than the old-fashioned thing that came down. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Leahy, do you not have a better picture? Is that the best you could do? I find it hard to picture in my mind what this neon sign would look like. I have the vision of the neon versus.
No, it's
what's
only the writing that's in neon. That's all. It's not a big bland, flash at you. Okay.
Okay.
So if you imagine icing a cake, Merry Christmas, is that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, it took me a second. I understand what you're saying.
Sure.
Another question for you, Councillor Robson?
Looking at the design, I see you've got an overall height of 24 feet.
Can I ask Ian?
And you've got a 10-foot Summerland Motel sign in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that would leave roughly 22 feet below that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be significantly high.
Mm-hmm.
So visibility minimal with a 12 by 12 fir post. 12 inch.
1 foot square.
Yeah, 12 foot, 12 inch, I should say, 12 inch.
Yeah.
It was only 24 feet from the cement to the top, and then 10 foot of that is cement.
So that's 14 feet.
Yeah, you've got 14 feet
Then
from
you
the.
have a vehicle backed up there, which is another 6 feet. So you've got from the top of that vehicle to the bottom of that sign.
No,
Okay,
you have 14 feet from the ground.
That's okay,
to
Mrs. Rogers.
To where the sign starts.
14 feet before the
sign starts.
Before the bottom of that sign starts.
So you can look right through.
Okay, so we'll ask the planner this as soon as. Any more questions for Mr. Leahy? Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you, sir. Just looking at the picture prior to this one, Ian, can you bring that one back up? You've got proposed sign locations. Would it not be just as effective to put one in the middle?
No, because we have 4 flagpoles there.
Yeah, you can't see it.
We already used that portion of it.
Thank you.
They need it certainly at the 1 Street just for the entrance of the hotel.
If I could just add,
Yes.
because we're the only building within quite a long
Yes.
stretch of road.
Yes.
Both sides, we always suffer from vegetation obliteration, and with all respect to the highways, do it once a year in the autumn. by which time it's all grown up during the summer season when we need people to see us.
Councillor Van Elfen, does that answer your
Yes, it
question?
does. Thank
Councillor
you.
Robson, questions only of Mr. Leahy, please.
Are there any other neon signs in Trout Creek?
There are, in fact, the 3 highway businesses in Trout Creek that face the highway, and there are only 3 major businesses on the highway. The Travel Land has exactly the same as what we're proposing. It's pipe red neon that says Travel Land.
Yep.
The Esso gas station has an enormous corporate sign with an electronic board for petrol prices. And we ourselves had a small neon sign similar to something like that you have there.
And your previous signage was neon?
No,
One of them was and one of them wasn't.
the one at the north end was just lit.
It was, but where the flagpoles are,
Yes.
there's a rock wall.
Yes, the one at the bottom.
And it says Summerland Motel.
Yes, it did.
And that's exactly the same
And that's
as
the
what we're
neon.
proposing.
Is that about the same strength?
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Leahy? Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Your Worship. Underneath the, can you go to the next slide, please, Mr. Planner? Thank you. Underneath the, where it says Summerland Motel and then the 2x6 or whatever, what aluminum signs?
Aluminum signs are the things like handicap, pool, all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us again, where does the aluminum sign start from the ground? How high is it before? Because it's got 10 feet, but it's 14, you said it's 14 feet from the ground up to the base of the aluminum signs? Is that correct?
Your worship, not quite. It's 24 feet right to the very top of the sign up here.
Okay.
So this is 10 feet, so this looks like about a foot and maybe another foot there and another foot down here. So it's more like 4, so it'd be about 10 feet approximately from the ground to the bottom of this line here would be about 10 feet. And the sign itself is 10 feet, but it's located up a couple of feet with wood infrastructure in there.
Okay. Any more questions for Mr. Leahy? Mr. Leahy, did you want to add anything else?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Mrs. Rogers, go right ahead.
Out of that 10 feet from the bottom,
Yes.
he has vehicles parked up right to the wood pillars going up. So that is not open, free space to see through.
Okay, good, fair point, fair point. Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Leahy, did you want to speak to that?
I just want to respond to the lady. When you come out of the end of Tate Street, you actually go past what you're saying because our parking is on our own property. Then there's a big piece of grass verge. So when you come out, you're at least 1.5 car widths past all that.
So the sign would be where you had it before? I don't want to go back and forth with this, but I just want to have an understanding. I'm just, I don't want to lose control of the, but hold on just a minute. I'm just concerned about, I know, I go by that spot every day, so I do see what you're talking about, but I also see what Mrs. Rogers is talking about.
If your stuff wasn't out on the highway variance there, I would have lots of room. I wouldn't have a problem. But your shrubbery and everything on the highway grass area is blocking my view.
So it's the shrubbery
So
more?
I cannot, well, I have to see
No.
by the sign to see past all this other stuff.
Gotcha,
on the-
gotcha. No, that's good, that's clear. That helps to know that, yeah, what you're talking about. Okay, Councillor Hacking, you had a question.
Let's
or
have
you had-
Ian talk about site triangles.
So let's
Is
just.
it within the
no,
site triangle?
Let's just finish up with questions for Mr. Leahy, then we'll
And
let
then
you
we'll
sit
talk
down
about
and then
site
we'll
triangles,
talk.
which will
Any
address
more
that.
comments that you had, Mr. Leahy?
The only comment I'd make is we are contacted regularly by the highways people.
Okay.
And we cut the shrubbery down to their
Specifications?
yes, and that happens every year.
Okay.
And the only other stuff that apparently I have on the verge is a freestanding sign which every business along that stretch of road has, and probably, from here to Vernon, it's exactly
Okay.
the same.
Okay.
And that's going, by the way.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to, I'm sorry, did you want to, you're done? Okay, I'll let you have a seat. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? For a second time, is there anyone who would like to speak to this issue? Third and final time? Anybody want to speak to this issue? All right, we'll close the public portion of this. And Councillor Hacking, you were asking Ian McIntosh a question.
So when it comes to sight lines looking around corners, I believe it's called the site triangle.
Yes, Your Worship, that's correct. In this particular case, there is what we call a corner truncation here. So the site triangle is not affected if the sign is on the subject property. What is being discussed is there's some vegetation that is off the property that is on the highway right-of-way that may impact, and a site triangle is generally this little piece here, which is if you extended the property lines so that they touched, the triangle that's in there is what we call the site triangle. In this particular case, the sign would be outside of that area on their own site.
Okay. Councillor Waterman?
Thank you, Worship. I just need some clarification with the sign bylaw and neon. Apparently, according to the proponent and according to you, I guess there's already this type of neon present on the highway down there.
I'm not aware of that myself. I know there's window signs that are neon, which we do allow in the sign bylaw. There's a couple of rotobeacon type signage that is on top of the trailer sales down there. I know if you're driving down the highway at night and you see them going, it looks like there's a police.
Don't like those.
Yes, those are not neon, but they're a distracting type of a sign that's on that building. I'm not aware of, I haven't seen myself any other neon sign other than window signs which are permitted.
What about the one on the front of his, right at the front on the brick wall? It's right down.
I don't believe, we've searched our file, we don't have a permit on file for that sign.
I guess I just wonder whether there's a difference between what Mr. Leahy called the sort of cake, icing cake type of approach to a color as opposed to a flashing neon. What was the intent with the bylaw in terms of the type of neon that was looked at? Because it appears to me that he already had a sign similar to that, and now he's doing something in addition. It's more sign than what he had before, I guess, with respect to this type of neon, but he did have a neon in place before. So what's the difference between the big flashing neon thing?
I'd rather
and this?
speak to the motion than speak to the question. So I'll wait.
Well, I don't think that's the point. I want to know what the
The
volunteers from the
sign,
committee said.
well, at the moment, the sign that was destroyed, that was there before, was what we call an illuminated sign, which is a plexiglass square with neon tubes behind. There was no pylon neon sign, if you like. The neon sign that's there currently on the face of the rock wall that's existing there technically is not permitted, and we do not have a sign permit for that sign. Neon has been a contentious issue. It was discussed at length. It was deemed by the committee and the public that window neon signs that say open or vacancy or those kinds of things are quite suitable. But in our view, to go to a 10-foot high, 10-foot big neon style sign on a freestanding location is not something that we've ever done in Summerland before and is prohibited by the bylaw.
Could they put up a regular sign like they had before, 10 feet tall, same thing, lit behind?
Yes,
It would
that
still
meets
need
the
a setback
bylaw.
grade, so.
So you could do it, you just couldn't do it with the neon?
Yeah, that's correct, and the staff's position is we are supporting the variance with respect to the sighting. We are unable to support the setback, or the variance with respect to the neon.
Councillor Alquist.
So if we were to take the red neon sign that is on the trailer place, take it off the side of the building, and put it on a sign like is being proposed here, we already have a sign that is 10 by 10. This thing is just strung out across the side of the building. And not only that, but there is a neon sign on the front of Zia's building. We have neon in this community. I am really surprised that when the sign committee went over this, there was such objection to this. I mean, I guess what is old is new again, and we should get with it, and it should be allowed. Neon signage of some kind in this community. We already have it here, and it's in other communities. As the gentleman said, it's not going to be downtown Vegas by any means, and I think it's quite appropriate, quite frankly. I'm more concerned about the visibility and the placement of that sign, rather than the neon part of it, to be quite frank.
Me too.
And you talk about air pollution or light pollution and stuff. You know, what is allowed is the old backlit signs, and I mean that lights up forever, whereas the neon is pretty restricted. So I don't have any problem with the neon part of it, but I want to make sure that the visibility part of this application is correct, and we're not really affecting. We see that on a drawing there, and we talk about triangles and all that kind of stuff, but we need to make sure that that sign is placed properly so it doesn't affect the visibility coming out on Tate, because they go roaring through Trout Creek there. It's certainly not the speed limit, and those people can sit there for quite some time before they have to pull out, and that's why the light was put at Johnson Road. So I want to make sure that the placement is proper.
Okay, so think about what you might do as far as a motion. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Worship. I'm looking at the photo that I have in front of me, and I've been through that area lots, and I find that Summerland Hotel and Resort pretty subtle against the rock. You know, the neon sign that's existing there today. I don't really have a problem with the neon, to be honest with you. We've allowed a sign just recently, and I know it's not neon, for a brand new business that took over the McDonald's restaurant. That's quite flashy, quite bright. It shows, different products that they're serving at different times, and I find that one more bright than a subtle neon, to be honest with you. It's quite illuminated. We've allowed that just because it's not neon.
Yep.
We allowed it, but this to me is quite subtle. I think it's very, very tasteful. And, like I say, Councillor Hallquist said it best, it's the placement issue that I would have a concern about. As long as it's placed in the proper locations, I don't have a problem with the design of the sign or, I don't know, I'm not an electrical engineer, what's cheaper, neon and or backlit, I'm not sure. But I'm sure there's, some probably energy conservation using the neon versus the backlit type signs.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Ian McIntosh, are you absolutely certain that you feel that the placement of this sign will provide the neighbors, and we're talking about as the Rogers have discussed, give them the security of visibility that they have been lacking?
From what I can see from the photograph, if the sign is located immediately behind the vehicle here, and the stop line for traffic is as shown on the paint, a car stopping to look will be in front of the sign. So it's the shrubbery in this location that, in my opinion, would be a greater block to the view than any sign located behind the car.
Okay, I happen to agree with you too. Okay, Councillor Hallquist.
Well, I'd like to move that the development variance permit for Lot 2, District Lot 488 ODYD Plan 9794, located at 2107 Tate Street, to vary Section 41516 of the sign bylaw 2013-026 to reduce the minimum setback for freestanding signs from 1 meter to 0 meters for the signs shown on Schedule B be approved, and that the development variance permit to vary Section 3.1 of the sign bylaw for neon signs be approved as well.
Seconder? Okay, so has been seconded.
And if I can just speak.
Please do.
Again, I'd like to speak to the visibility thing. I really want to make sure that.
Could we not add a friendly amendment that the owner's required to reduce the shrubs to?
Well, I don't know about that, but what I was going to suggest, is that even if whoever is going to approve this puts up a mock, like a couple of 2x4s or whatever, of where that sign's going to be, and then that, before they build the sign. And then you'll see whether it affects the visibility or not. The other problem is a different problem.
It's highways.
It's a highway problem, and that's not the problem with the motel, but the sign thing is something we can control. So why, let's maybe, like I said, even if it was done with a couple of 2x4s, so you would get an idea as to what it's going to look like before it's built. I don't know.
Okay,
So,
who else would like to speak?
just a suggestion.
Tom Day.
I believe those shrubs are in fact the property owners. Lots of people put
I think so.
landscaping on the highway right away, and it's up to them to keep it in trim to ensure visibility. So I think your friendly amendment just adds to the requirements of the bylaw, that rather than wait to be ordered by us, who I think was the last one, or highways, that the owner take a proactive approach and keep it trimmed so that neighbors can see when they're pulling out of that thing would be helpful.
Really well said. So tell us what a friendly amendment would look like.
He was saying do not put a friendly amendment because the owner should be proactive.
Don't need it.
doesn't work that way.
I think you need to put an amendment on them.
I think because it comes from council directly in a
Right.
specific instance, I think it's helpful that council amend the motion.
Okay, so would you consider putting an amendment to that motion, Councillor Alquist?
I would like to see us do that as in a separate motion, and so that I don't see the, although I see the, in terms of visibility, they're being related, but I don't see the.
My concern about having this as a separate motion is that it will be seen as a different item. And I think it needs to be as part of this. That's just me, but am I wrong?
Well, if somebody can come up with the appropriate wording, I have no problem in adding it as a friendly amendment, whatever the appropriate wording would be.
Yeah, I think Maureen's just indicating that the variance be approved subject to
Yes.
the owner proactively maintaining sightlines with adjacent vegetation.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
To a height of?
That's regulated in the bylaw, I believe.
Within the site triangle, we do have a height. I don't know what it is offhand. It's in the neighborhood of a meter.
Yeah, I don't think you need to say the height. I think
Okay.
it's just the.
To be maintained.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the
So I'm
second?
fine with that.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Is
sure.
the seconder willing to accept that as a friendly amendment? Okay, and that staff understands that? Okay. That allows then people to make a complaint later on if they're not kept up. Okay, it's now in there. It's now in there so they can make a complaint to bylaw enforcement if it's not kept up.
It would be a condition of the variance, so they would have to be maintained to maintain the variance.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Hacking?
So I'm going to go over a couple issues now that we actually have the motion on the floor here. Site triangles address the visibility needs around corners such as this, and that's why they're in place there with the regulations they have in place. For me, it's, as is indicated clear on the map, from the stop point of Tate Street, the sign is behind that stop point and outside of the site triangle, so I have no concern with the sign in particular. I'm glad we have the variance on the vegetation. I think it's a small but significant effort that we can help mitigate the concern with the vegetation. I sat on the sign bylaw committee. It was a great committee to work with, and neon signs were an item of contention on the committee. There were some that felt it was it could open up a big can of worms, and others that felt like it was just being pro-business. So we have existing examples of neon signage in the community that are grandfathered through. But for me, I was a supporter of neon signage. I think properly done, it is just as tasteful, perhaps more artistic than a lot of other sign options, including neon tube or fluorescent tube backlit signs. But I have comfort with where the current sign bylaw is, because it allows anybody who wants to place neon to come get the opinion of council and say, does this fit in what the community wants, and does it work with the community? Just because they have to apply for a variance doesn't mean that it's outside the rules. It says we want to have input on this sort of decision, and we want to make sure it works with the plan that's in place for the business and for what the community wants, so we don't have garish
Signage.
30-foot signage coming up simply because of a blanket rule. So I am happy that it's not necessarily in the sign bylaw, but we have a variance process to allow exceptions to that regulation to come to the table and be judged on their merits. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Excellent comments. Anyone else for comments? Okay. I want to say, first of all, that I know that staff did not recommend this. And I was actually fully prepared to deny this tonight because we had a volunteer council committee that told us this was not what they wanted. So this was really helpful to hear your information, Councillor Hacking. It's also helpful to have an understanding of what the citizen wants, what the applicant wants, and to have an understanding of that. And I think it's important when these do come for you to consider denial. And then that's up for us to debate. But the fact is that the owner chose to spend the money for the variance, chose to bring their ideas forward, chose to say, I want to be at least considered. That's what the job of this council is to do, is to consider the options that are presented to us. And I think that given all the scenarios, what I don't want the council committee is to feel that we're denying them on one of the very first applications that's come forward, because I do think their committee has done excellent work, and I think we should abide by that, so I'm glad you denied it. Having said that, I think that given the case, given the story, my concerns are by far the visibility. And I think that this will in fact be, if there's one thing that I know about this hotel, I've watched this motel over the past 11 years. And if there's one thing I know about this owner, they have been very concerned about the appropriate look of their facility so that they are attractive to the public. And I'm certain that he will not have anything garish, because God forbid that would not be an attractant to his business. So I'm going to vote in favor of this. Okay, all those voting, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Okay, next item on the agenda is the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole. First one is the landfill shopping review.
Sure, I'll talk to that,
Thank
please.
you so much.
So council's been through this in detail. I'm not going to go through it in detail tonight. I think that this results from the RDOS increasing landfill deposit fees in all their landfills and us being less expensive. There's 3 commercial users that use our landfill, and we just want to ensure that only District of Summerland refuse ends up in our landfill. So that the community understands that, because if not, it shortens our lifespan of our landfill, and those are long-term costs to the taxpayers of Summerland. And so council and Committee of the Whole reviewed this morning and recommended that we implement some new regulation that would, first of all, fine people if they, or increase fees for people who dump refuse originating from outside the district, and if it continues, we'd actually ban them from using the municipal or the District of Summerland landfill.
Okay, the wish of council, Councillor Hacking.
I'll read it out.
Thank you.
It would be nice if it had just been a schedule attached, I suppose.
Well, you can make it a schedule.
No, again, it's the motion is as written.
It's pretty lengthy. Go ahead.
That the solid waste management regulation bylaw number 2000-309 be amended as follows by adding the following definition. Non-district solid waste means any load that the director, at his sole discretion and estimation, deems to contain more than 3% by volume, solid waste, garbage, refuse, or any other material of any kind whatsoever whose point of origin is located outside the District of Summerland. 2. By inserting the following subsection into Section 5, subsection 5.1.5, offenses and penalties. Any person who, without prior approval of the director, deposits non-district solid waste at the landfill shall be charged 1. Double the tipping fees for the entire weight of the first load of the non-district solid waste. 2. Triple the tipping fees for the entire weight of any subsequent load of non-district solid waste that is deposited at the landfill within 6 months of any other load of non-district solid waste that was deposited by the same person. If a person deposits more than 4 loads of a non-district solid waste into the landfill within a 12-month period, the director may, at his sole discretion, and in addition to charging the person the increase in tipping fees, ban the person from using the landfill for a period not to exceed 30 calendar days. Bans longer than 30 calendar days require the approval of council.
Seconder. Thank you. Comments? Comments, Councillor Waterman.
Thank you, Worship. I think this is actually quite critical for the district, because landfill areas are not easily acquired. It's very difficult these days to find a site. And so to be depositing extra material that just shortens our life and then ends up, we've got a cost to capping that landfill down the road, and we don't need that cost any sooner than necessary. So I think it's important that this be done quickly, and that the offenses and penalties be such that we actually get results.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Worship. Just a quick comment, if I may. I like this approach. It's not fair to our local people. We could raise our landfills to meet other landfills in the area to stop this shopping, so to speak.
The fees, you mean?
The fees. And I don't think it's fair to our local people to raise the fees. So this way, I think it'll hopefully alleviate the problem of people shopping at our landfill to get a deal.
This is exactly the problem that Councillor Hallquist, Councillor Robson, and I talked about at the RDOS when we said when you raise the fees there, people will shop and try and do business in other places to save money. And this is exactly the problem we had suspected would happen.
It's not a $5 difference. It's a 20-some-odd dollar difference.
Exactly.
And, we knew this was going to happen.
For Tom.
And it's about time that we did take some action. We're only talking about 3 customers here.
Yeah.
We're not talking a,
No.
large population or a large amount of people using it. So think it's about time we did something about it, and I think it's a good move to start with anyways. I don't know if it's good long-term, we'll have to figure out the long-term thing, but.
No, and we had a lot of questions this morning about how this would happen and how it would unfold, and they've got a good plan. Okay, no more discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you so much. Selection of the auditor for the District of Summerland. Director of Finance, Laurie Coates, could you tell us, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a request for proposals, and we had 5 proposals submitted to the district to review. We did a review process, and the firm that came out the highest in the points is MNP LLP. That's an accounting firm out of Kelowna, but they are a national firm that has offices as far as Ontario, right out to British Columbia. And they have quite a lengthy list of municipal customers and client base, so they are very well appointed to do this work for us. And the recommendation is that council appoint this firm as our auditors for a 3-year term with a possible addition of 2 years.
Which council? Council Robson?
I'd like to put it on the table, Your Worship.
Please.
That council appoint MNP LLP as the auditor for the District of Summerland for the fiscal year 2014 to 2016, with the possibility of an extension for 2 additional years. Second here?
Okay, seconder, no, sorry, go ahead, seconder, thank you so much.
I got a question.
Councillor Hallquist?
And I'd just like to speak to it.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
If you've got a question, I'm tempted to take
Well,
the
that's a
question
question I
first.
didn't ask this morning, and I probably should have, I just
Go
thought about
ahead.
now, is the contract that they've talked about, that
Yes.
we're voting on here, is that the costs all in, or is there traveling costs and stuff on top of that, or what?
I believe that's the cost all in. Just let me confirm. Yeah, that's the full price. They've estimated their disbursements in there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Councillor Robson?
My comment is just so that the public knows that this wasn't the lowest bid, but it was the second lowest, and that the hourly rate works out to the same. However, this company is taking a few extra hours to complete the job, and I think that's important.
Good, well said. Okay, any other comments? Okay, call for question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Laurie. Next item is the Summerland Asset Development Initiative Grant in Aid request. Who wishes to take this on? Laurie Coates again?
Yes, thank you, Your
Director of
Worship.
Finance, thank you.
So for 2014, the council has approved a grant in aid to SADI, the Summerland Asset Development Initiative, of $5,000, and it was tied to a specific program or project that they were going to have to present to council for their approval before we would give them the funds. They've asked that that restriction be removed and that the funds be available to them without any stipulations.
Okay, the wish of council. Councillor Van Elfen?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to put the recommendation on the table that council instructs staff to extend final approval for the 2014 grant and aid request from Summerland Asset Development Initiative, SADI, without any stipulations as to specific use of the funds.
Seconder, please. Thank you. May I ask when the money would be available?
I'm not sure when our next check run is going to be, Your Worship.
Okay.
It won't be this week, I don't believe, so I
Okay.
think it will be next week before they would get their funds.
But you'll notify them right away?
Absolutely,
Good,
yes.
thank you so much. Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Sorry, Councillor Hacking, I apologize. Councillor Hacking, question?
SADI received a $5,000 grant in aid in 2013 as well.
Yes. All those in favor? No one's opposed. Motion's carried unanimously. Summerland Permissive Tax Exemption and Grant and Aid Committee, Laurie Coates.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, that same process that we just talked about with providing a grant and aid to SADI, we have now before us permissive tax exemptions for 2015, and as well grant and aid applications that have been received. So to make that process go forward in a more efficient manner and allow us some flexibility with people's schedules, we've asked that council appoint a committee again to review those applications, and then the results of that committee review will come forward to the council.
Okay, and this morning we discussed this, and 3 of us did put our hand up. So the wish of council, please. Councillor Hacking?
The council appoints Councillors Hallquist and Van Elfen and Mayor Perino as a select committee to review permissive tax exemptions and grant and aid applications for fiscal 2015.
Seconder, thank you. This has to be done as of October 31st.
Permissive tax exemption bylaw has to be adopted prior to October 31st, yes.
Okay, so we're actually hoping to have our first meeting this coming Thursday night?
Thursday, yes.
If everybody's available.
I believe
Okay.
that's,
Okay,
I believe
good.
they have accepted.
One
yeah.
meeting?
One meeting to review the applications, and then we'll come forward to the next council meeting.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, any questions or comments? All those in favor? No one's opposed, motion is carried unanimously. Time for council reports. Let's start with Bruce Hallquist, please. Councillor Hallquist.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just one quick thing. This Saturday, October the 18th at 10 a.m., there's going to be a brand-new run started here in Summerland, the Mod Run. It was envisioned by and is in memory of the late Ellen Maud Lloyd, who was the creator of several other runs in Summerland, the Giant's Head Run, the Summerland Action Festival, the Man of Steel Triathlon, and she was very active along with Councillor Robson in establishing the Sadie organization. And the one thing that they forgot to mention on the brochure is that she was also one of our founders of the Summerland
Charity Shop Society.
Charity Shop
Shop
Society,
Society,
getting late.
yeah.
Charity Shop Society, which ran Penny Lane for 11 years.
Age?
Pardon me? Yeah, I guess it's age, yeah, but it's getting late for me anyways. But anyways, so the entry is by blood donation, pledge for a blood donation, or donation of their time to help with the race, or a small cash donation. Now, I talked to Ellen about this just shortly before she passed, and I'm really glad to see that it's come to fruition, that somebody in Summerland, I believe,
The leadership.
leadership class, and what's the name of the individual, though, the teacher?
Oh, Linda Bergstrom.
Linda Bergstrom is, got the show on the road here.
Yes, yes.
So I think it's going to be a good event for Summerland, and good on Ellen for making sure something like this happened before she passed.
That's something?
Yeah, it really is.
Quite a woman. yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Well said.
She was always very proactive for the youth of the community, and did a lot of things in the community.
And
So-
you and Councillor Robson picked it up and kept it running, and
Yep.
I know, you know all the things that
Yep,
she started, so well done.
absolutely.
Anything else,
No,
Councillor?
that's good, thanks.
Councillor Hacking.
I will make it easy and we'll have no report this evening.
Councillor Christopherson.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Robson.
Whew. Well.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. UBCM, what an opportunity that was for us all, I think, that attended. We had the opportunity of meeting with ministers to go over some of our concerns locally. We had the opportunity to attend field trips. I along with Councillor Van Alphen, attended the agricultural tour to Pemberton. Had a wonderful tour. They showed a lot of the farming practices that are indicative of that area. They've got hops growing. They've got seed potato plants. It's a huge operation that Pemberton runs, and I wasn't familiar with Pemberton at all until I got through there. The other thing that we had the opportunity of doing is our own Christy Richards from Summerland has a restaurant and she provided meals for us all, and there was two bus loads on that tour, and she provided the meals for us, and her restaurant is called Solfeggio, and it's hard to pronounce for me. I'm not Italian, maybe that's what it is.
Don't look at me.
Anyway, just a great thing. I want to also mention that our MLA, Dan Ashton, was present with us at all of our meetings with the ministries. And I think that's important that Dan was there to show his support and give credence to what our concerns are in our municipality or our district, and how we can gain support from Christy.
From all the ministers, from the
Yeah,
provincial government.
and from our premier too.
Yeah.
So.
He even gave us some extra advice at the end that helped us to know sort of the next steps. So that was
And
great.
the grant writing.
Yeah, the grant
Mhm.
writing, yeah, it was great.
So that's one of the things I was really pleased with. Then again, the Toyokoro visit, again, I'm on that committee and council committee. And those two volunteers we have, Lori Ford and Darlene Forsdick, do an immense amount of work to make this come to a great success. And I just have to commend the whole committee and on those two ladies for what they're doing. And the 20-year reunion in 2016 is looked forward to. It's already booked. We have people that are just dying to get to that community. And as Bruce mentioned, the mod run on Saturday, anybody that wants to go. Ellen's dream was that people would donate blood, and that's one of the things. Car accident, you know, sometimes up to 50 units of blood are required. A leukemia treatment, 8 units a week. I mean, blood is very important, and that was one of the things, the last things that Ellen talked to us about when she made her final visit to Summerland in last fall, was this program. And I'm glad to see that Brenda picked it up, or pardon me, Linda Bergstrom picked it up and has dealt with it through the school. Don Hope passed away. Don Hope was a resident of Peach Orchard. He'd lived there for years. He was a retired RCMP member. He was one of my corporals in Penticton back in 1970. He's been a good friend over the years. His his funeral will be tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the Anglican Church.
You'll be there?
And I'll be there, yes.
Good. Thank you. Well said. Councillor Wadham.
Just two things.
It's okay.
First of all, I'd like to indicate that our time at UBCM was well worth it, and I'd have to say, after having experience in the past and now with our staff, I have to commend Tom and the staff putting together the binder for us to use.
What a difference.
And the prep work that was done to meet ministers and so on was well worth it. Anybody who thinks those trips are not worthwhile, it's worth money, and as you know, that's what we're looking at, is grant money and so on. And it's worth it to make those contacts. It's so much easier to be on the phone or to run into people
Next year.
and be able to make those personal contacts to further the community's wishes. And I think I really am upset with people that think that they are not worthwhile.
Yeah.
So the other thing was that I really did enjoy our several times with the Toro Core group. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there for the farewell dinner, but I did enjoy the other times, and it was well worth it. Thank you.
That was great fun. Councillor Van Alphen?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to try to be as quick as possible, the Sister City delegation that was here was an absolute honor to spend a bit of time with them. I attended the Pacific Agri-Food Research Center 100th anniversary.
Thank you
on
very
your
much. You
behalf,
went in
Your
for me.
Worship.
I was not well. Thank you so much.
And it was a very, very wonderful displays, displays, 100-year-old pictures of Summerland and farm and tobacco and Jersey cattle, and it's just right up my alley. I'd like to.
Oh, tobacco.
You know,
I
not
have so
tobacco,
much
but
work to do.
tobacco. But it was such a really interesting stuff that they used to do at the research station back in the day, and where it's evolved to today. I also had the privilege of attending the UBCM, and like Councillor Robson said, it was just an absolute, the agricultural tour was a blast up through Pemberton, just to see the different things that are happening, the varietal hops farms, and they're experimenting with different types of hops, you know, to these vegetable farms, and to the big one for me was the seed potato farms. Pemberton is a virus-free area. They get to grow seed potatoes there. And the biggest dilemma they're having there, it's a rotational crop. Every 4 years, they can only plant potatoes in that spot. And their biggest dilemma they're having today is a lot of these farms are 80 to 100 acres. And the farmer we visited, a young couple, they have an 80-acre farm. They'll lease another additional 200 acres. And the biggest problem they're having is trying to lease land, because it is being purchased up by lifestyles of the rich and famous from the lower mainland that do not want farming activity to happen on those lands anymore.
So they're just buying it
They're
and
just
living
buying
there
it,
and-
turning them into little estates and resorts.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting, the dilemmas they're having. I feel we're having the same dilemmas here in our community when orchards get purchased up. And I got to sit beside our minister, Norm Letnick, all through the whole bus tours, and you know there's a problem when he looks over and goes, "Oh, hi, Marty." So we know each other by name quite well. And it was quite interesting. Norm did a speech, and the largest farm export in British Columbia, and I thought, well, it's got to be apples, or it's got to be cherries, or it's got to be this, and it's got to be that, and it's farm salmon. And it's the biggest employer for First Nations women in British Columbia. And I was just so shocked when he said farm salmon. So anyway, end of my report.
Isn't
Thanks.
that something? And you did not mention the fact that you went with me to talk to the staff about the Garnet Valley Road and the water separation, because as a person who lives there, I said, listen, come with me, you can talk about this. And we went and talked in front of staff and with Tom Day, and learned how to, how to move this forward, the project, and get the grant, and we're on our way, so that's good.
It looks exciting.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, please. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Meeting is officially adjourned. We have one member of the media. John, did you have any questions for us? No. We have 4 people running for council.
Still
Oh my
here.
God, still here. This is what you get paid the big bucks for. You get to be here till 11 o'clock at night, and you don't make 1 cent more for being here later, so we should tell you that. But it is, when you do a lot of work, and you saw tonight where staff came with a recommendation, and we debated it out, and very thoughtfully made a recommendation that was different. You saw where different councilors voted in different ways, which was helpful, and we walk away with respectful kindness towards each other, and always we work as a team. So I hope that you'll do the same should you be blessed to be elected. Any questions from anyone before we go? As long as they're short and sweet.
And on the agenda.
Anybody? That's on the agenda. Anything else? No? We've kept you awake. You're ready to go, eh? Thank you so much to the staff. Thank you, Jim, for all the work. Thank you, Ian. Good work.